my mind. Plus, every Thursday, there's a special bonus episode where we answer the questions that are on your mind. Make sure to spend your Tuesdays and Thursdays with Trey. Subscribe now at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts. Hope to see you.
America's listening to Fox News.
Now, the same day, NATO's leader, Mark Rutte, met with President Trump at the White House, finalizing that deal for NATO to buy American weapons and ammo that'll go to Ukraine to battle Russia. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth sat down with Germany's Defense Minister, Boris Pistorius.
Secretary Hegseth praised the Germans for leading the way in furthering President Trump's goal of more financial contributions from European countries for NATO.
Upfront commitment to your spending, commitment to European leadership, and so I want to commend you and thank you for that.
Minister Pistorius also praised the country's relationship as a strong partner.
We are determined to assume greater responsibility for Europe's deterrence and defense while recognizing that the contribution of the United States of America remains indispensable to our collective security.
The meeting took place just hours after President Trump announced a new plan to funnel American weapons to Ukraine through NATO. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
We'll get a key update to the economy today. Another check on inflation. The June Consumer Price Index, a slight increase is expected from May, and the annual inflation rate is also predicted to rise to perhaps 2.7%. Ahead of the report on Wall Street, stock futures are mixed. They're down a bit for the Dow, which gained 88 points yesterday, but they're up for the NASDAQ, which closed at a new record high. Baseball has a new home run king.
The Dominican dominance comes to an end. The Big Dumper is your home run derby champion for 2025.
The Big Dumper is Cal Raleigh's nickname. He's a Seattle Mariner and beat Tampa Bay's Junior Caminero in the final round, becoming the first catcher to win the Derby. That was on ESPN. Raleigh's also the first switch hitter to win the competition outright, hitting homers from both sides of the plate. Raleigh leads the majors this season with 38 home runs. He'll play in the All-Star game tonight in Atlanta. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
Are you over the age of 55 and want to secure your wealth with physical gold and silver? Do you want to own physical precious metals inside your retirement account, but don't know where to get started? We can help. We are Advantage Gold, the #1 customer-rated gold company in America, with thousands of 5-star reviews. And for the past decade, we have been helping investors take their 401ks, IRAs, and retirement accounts and diversify them into physical precious metals like gold, silver, platinum, and palladium, tax-free and penalty-free. And we can help you too. Call us right now, 800-900-8000, and get our free 2025 Gold Investing Starter Kit, 100% free. It comes with a one-on-one masterclass on precious metals investing from one of our seasoned experts. Just call 800-900-8000 now and claim your free Gold Investing Starter Kit. Also learn how you might qualify for up to $10,000 in free gold and silver. Supplies are limited. Call us at 800-900-8000 or visit us at AdvantageGold.com. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Please consult your tax or financial advisor. Call us at 800-900-8000.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago Immune Support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago, a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
If you've ever wanted to meet Larry Elder, Hugh Hewitt, Mike Gallagher, or Charlie Kirk, now's your chance. It's AM 560's Terrific Talkers VIP Experience Contest. Enter today for a chance to meet your favorite host and sit in on a live broadcast. The grand prize includes airfare and 3 nights of accommodations. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/VIP. That's 560theanswer.com/VIP.
It's July 15th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is National Give Something Away Day. Founded in 2015, the day is meant to bring awareness and encourage generosity in all its forms. For many of us, we are fortunate to have more than we need, so perhaps we can share some of our good fortune with others. And while donations of money or used items may be what most of us think of sharing, perhaps think of giving in other ways, like volunteering your time and skills to local organizations or donating food to a food pantry. Also on this date, in 1799, the Rosetta Stone was discovered in the Egyptian village of Rosetta during Napoleon Bonaparte's Egyptian campaign. And in 1971, President Richard Nixon announced to the American people that he would visit China.
The meeting between the leaders of China and the United States is to seek the normalization of relations between the two countries.
Making Nixon the first U.S. president to visit the People's Republic of China, I'm Tushar Saxena, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Charlie, is there something better we can do with all these pallets, OCC, and shrink wrap? It just keeps building up.
Well, we have a trash company that's supposed to haul it away. I guess they're not keeping up.
Well, maybe we should shop around. All this paper, plastic, metal, this can all be recycled. We spend way too many hours just moving it around.
Actually, my buddy's company uses Combined Resources in Addison. They pick up recyclables all over Chicago and safely dispose of it. They have this huge recycling center. Apparently, it saves them a lot in waste expenses, too.
Well, let's give Combined Resources a call.
Since 1986, Combined Resources, Inc. has been your one-stop shop recycling and sustainability partner. CRI's programs reduce labor and hauling costs, boost rebate returns, and help your company go green. If your company has paper, cardboard, plastic, pallets, and metal that you want cleared and recycled, CRI will take care of it all and help you meet sustainability goals. Call 877-CRI-PLAS and learn how CRI supports smarter recycling at combinedresources.us. Combined Resources, Inc., turning waste into worth, one resource at a time.
People ask us all the time, when's the best time to replace an old air conditioner? Simple. Before it breaks. Because when it does, you know it'll be the hottest day of the year, and suddenly you're scrambling like hundreds of others to get help during a heat wave. At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we've seen it all. We know there's never a good time to be without AC, especially in Chicagoland, where the humidity can make 80 degrees feel like 100. At Air Right, our experienced technicians don't just work fast, they'll do it right. Browse through our more than 1,500 5-star Google reviews to see what our loyal customers love most about us. If it's been a while since your system was inspected, don't wait for a heat wave before having it checked out. And right now, AM 560 listeners receive $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right, doing it right since 1959.
Are you prepared for the Illinois estate tax? If your estate is worth over $4 million, your heirs could face a tax bill of up to 16% when you pass. Financial advisor Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions can show you ways to potentially reduce or even eliminate that burden. One strategy is to start gifting assets during your lifetime to lower the taxable value of your estate. Another option is setting up irrevocable trusts, which can shield wealth from estate taxes. Charitable donations and life insurance policies can also be smart tools to offset tax liabilities. Planning ahead, though, is key. Without a proper strategy, your family could be left paying more than they need to. Don't wait. Call Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions now to help protect what you've worked so hard for. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. That's 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Firm may not give tax advice.
So, what'd you call me over here to see, buddy?
Well, wait till you see the new set of wheels
Whoa, would you look at this garage floor? Wow, buddy, is this epoxy? So smooth and shiny. It looks like a showroom in here. Wow, it looks easy to keep nice and clean, too.
Yeah, it is. But
man, I've been thinking about getting an epoxy coating. This is a sweet-looking garage floor.
You happen to notice my new Corvette?
Oh, huh. That's cool, too.
Level 10 Coatings, Chicagoland's premier concrete coatings company. We can improve the look of your garage, basement, office, or outdoor space with customized concrete coating solutions. As Chicagoland's only certified Cimarron installer, we're setting industry standards for the most durable flooring solutions at highly competitive prices. Level 10 Coatings uses polyurea and polyaspartic coating, which is stronger than epoxy. Turn your ugly garage floor into a showroom floor. Now, with the summer special, just mention AM560 to receive $500 off any project. Visit level10coatings.com.
Big or small, we coat them all. Level 10 Coatings, your custom concrete coating solution.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago immune support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago, a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
When you want the best in construction and industrial equipment, look no further than Chicago's most trusted name for 76 years, O'Leary's. From Bobcat to Bosch, Milwaukee to Steel, O'Leary's carries all the top brands and a huge inventory. From skid loaders and excavators, power tools, generators to welders, O'Leary's has the equipment contractors count on, all under one roof. Located on 6 sprawling acres in the heart of Chicago, O'Leary's boasts a massive showroom and full-service shop, better equipped than any competitor in the city. All backed by an experienced team who are committed to meeting your needs. Plus, a modern delivery fleet driven by pros. With O'Leary's, you'll get the gear you need, on time, in perfect condition, and with service that actually knows your name. Visit O'Leary'sEquipment.com. Call 773-252-6600 or stop by just off 290, exit 24AB on Cicero Avenue. O'Leary's, where experience meets equipment and equipment meets satisfied customers.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. Did Joe Biden decide who received pardons and commutations? The New York Times cast fresh doubt on the legitimacy of thousands of clemency actions this week. Biden refuted allegations that he didn't authorize the auto pen for every pardon issued at the end of his term. However, the Times reviewed emails during the post-election period and discovered that aides compiled the pardon lists and then affixed Biden's signature to most of them with the mechanical device. It included a controversial preemptive pardon to Anthony Fauci, among other administration officials, as well as thousands of others in blanket pardons. This obviously calls into question the validity of these clemency actions. The real issue is Biden's competency. Put simply, We need to know who exercised authority granted exclusively to the elected president. The pardons are the entree to accountability. We need to focus on the most important question: who was the real president in the Biden administration? I'm Ed Morrissey.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gave Alice, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
This is a special alert during this window replacement season. Don't get tricked by the cheapest offers and gimmicky ads. Now's the time to see and feel the difference of high-performance windows from Valdecas.
When it's time to consider new windows, siding, and doors for your home, you need to look no further. Sebastian Gorka here to tell you about Valdecas. Valdecas has been the trusted name chosen by thousands of homeowners, and they should be your number one choice too. But what's really behind the name Valdecas? Over 25 years of a team dedicated to providing you with the best customer service experience and products that truly bring value to your home. They are a Pella Platinum Elite Status certified contractor for a reason. They have an A+ rating with the BBB, as well as high ratings and positive reviews on both Google and Houzz. Schedule your free in-house consultation at valdecas.com.
Ask about their exclusive manufacturer warranties and their 10-year workmanship guarantee.
Don't wait. Book today at valdecas.com. For the best in class, it's Valdecas.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Wealth Health Radio. The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire? Retirement doesn't have to be complicated. To make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence. Learn principles of income planning. There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring. Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be hot with a mix of sun and clouds, possibly a thunderstorm later this afternoon. Expect a high of 92. Tonight, there may be isolated thunderstorms early, then mainly clear, warm, and humid with a low of 74. Tomorrow will be hot and humid with a blend of clouds and sunshine. A few thunderstorms likely in the afternoon. Look for a high of 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. All right, the latest twists and turns on the Epstein saga. Saw more twists and turns yesterday. Let's start with a friend of the show, Alan Dershowitz, famed Harvard law professor. Dershowitz, remember last week on Sean Spicer's show, seem to indicate that there, in fact, was an Epstein client list, although he didn't exactly use that phraseology, that he's seen it, that he knows the who's who and the what's what. This is what he said on Spicer's podcast.
This is not an opinion. This is a fact. I have seen, remember, I was accused falsely on the Epstein, and ultimately I was completely cleared. The woman admitted that she may have mistook me for somebody else and withdrew all of her lawsuits. And so from day one, from the day I was accused, I said I want every document out because I knew every document would prove I was innocent. So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them, and that's wrong.
Just out of curiosity, without names, are these politicians, business leaders, both?
They're everything. And let me tell you, a lot of them are, at least one of them is somebody who was accused. Others are accusers. And the judges have said, if somebody calls themselves a victim, we're not going to give any information about them. But they may not be victims. They may be perpetrators. So we don't have information about false accusers. And we know there have been many false accusers who have accused innocent people for money. And those records are being deliberately, willfully suppressed. And they shouldn't be suppressed. If the accusation is allowed out, so should the material that diminishes the credibility of the accuser. We want total transparency on this. Every single document, no redaction. That's what I've said from day one. I waive any of my rights of privacy. Anything there is about me, I'm happy because it will be exculpatory, because I know I haven't touched a woman other than my wife from the day I met Jeffrey Epstein. I don't even hug people, but I was falsely accused and I was able to prove it, and I was able to prove it through documents, and I want other people to be able to disprove false accusations through documents, but these documents are being suppressed and withheld.
Okay, so he didn't use the phrase client list, but he essentially indicated two groups of people who he wants to be exposed. They're being improperly protected to further his characterization, which is, the one hand, the people that engaged in bad acts that were facilitated by Epstein, and two, the false accusers, including the person who Dershowitz said falsely accused him. That was last week. This week, the very same Alan Dershowitz with Fredo Cuomo on News Nation said this.
Is the government hiding a client list or anything that the Trump administration could release tonight?
No, there is no client list. There never has been a client list. A client list suggests that Jeffrey Epstein made a list of people to whom he trafficked women. What there is a redacted FBI affidavit from accusers, and there are several of them, from accusers that accuse Jeffrey, that accuse various people of having improper sex. And that has been redacted. The names of the people accused have been blacked out. Now, of course, because I was the lawyer and I did all the investigations, I know who all these people are. I could figure out, based on everything that I saw, who Mr. X is, Mr. Y is, and Mr. Z. I can tell you right now, none of them are public figures who are currently in office. Some of them were previously in office. Some of them are dead. But there is no client list. And the redactions could be undone if you go to court. So many of the things that are being suppressed by two judges in Manhattan, and they're doing it largely to protect the alleged accusers who are, in the view of the judges, victims, even though we don't know what their actual status is. But the judges have issued orders, which is why I can't disclose things I'd love to disclose, saying that you can't disclose this information. But Pam Bondi and the Justice Department and Donald Trump are not responsible for that. I don't know of any information that they could disclose that they haven't disclosed. Now, maybe there is some, but I'm simply not aware of it. And so I think it's important to place the blame where the blame deserves to be placed.
Okay, so, I mean, call it a client list, don't call it a client list. Nobody's necessarily saying it's just a handle. It's not like we expect a ledger on this day. I provided this girl to this person and, time stamped. But but there are accusations against individuals of bad acts. And, okay, the judge in the case, or these Manhattan judges that Dershowitz refers to, are preventing the release of said information, as you just heard Dershowitz say. Okay, let's so stipulated. So, number one, why didn't Pam Bondi say the same thing? If what Dershowitz is saying is true, why didn't Pam Bondi just say what Dershowitz said? Look, there are these judges in Manhattan, and they have essentially are preventing any disclosures that we have not already made. Well, in part, I think because it then prompts the follow-up question, well, why don't you go to court and press the issue of lifting the essential gag order on that information? Or give us some timeline on what the Justice Department plans to do in terms of pushing the adjudication of pending litigation, pursuing their own investigations, drawing their own conclusions. So I don't want to get hung up on the characterization of names, ranks, and serial numbers being on a formal client list or not on a client list. The point here is Dershowitz is stipulating that there are these people. He knows them, some of whom he just said, some are dead, some are not in public office now, but were. Assuming that Dershowitz knows what he's talking about, that sounds like information that should be released, which he said precisely as much on Sean Spicer's podcast last week, and he seemed to sort of walk that back a little bit, saying everybody's hands are tied. But they're not tied forever. And so I still am left unsatisfied by what we have been provided by the Trump administration, starting with Bondi, on this matter. And you have, all these other people rushing in with perhaps accurate, reasonable explanations for the approach being taken. But I say again, the problem is I'm not getting a reasonable explanation from the principal, which is the Trump administration. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. Craig in Mount Greenwood.
Hey, good morning, Dan, and thank you for taking my call. Early on, when they caught Epstein and that, the three-letter agencies, I think it was hundreds of agents, they went on that island. They were talking about how they were gathering up all those video cameras, all of these network systems that were on there, that they had every square inch of that island videotape. They were gathering up all the tapes, all the things, all the stuff. Tons of stuff. So they had all the stuff. Just like they had the, the laptop. Remember how they had the laptop, the Hunter laptop, and then the thing. But I think this time when they got all the information, they created their own thing. They figured, okay, Trump wants a list or something or this. Oh, we'll give it to him. And just like they did with January 6th, with all the lies and all the scheming they do, and just like Schumer and Warren, I think they might have created their own list, and they gave a list that's bogus or something. They're trying to, and the Trump and Bondi are trying to work their way through it or figure out what the heck's going on here.
Okay.
There's something really dark here.
Thanks for the call, Craig. Well, there's definitely something very dark. Yeah, I've heard the two sets of books argument, which is essentially what you're saying. And, how do you know? How would they know if they're not getting the real information? If there were two sets of books, they capped and or destroyed the real set of books, and they've left the Trump administration with a fake set of books. Well, number one, there were some files left behind. Pam Bondi said as much. She's reviewed them. she said. Number two, you have the Ghislaine Maxwell file, the court record, and all that went into her prosecution for human trafficking. That's a lot of information. Number three, Pam Bondi's an experienced prosecutor. So she's going to be able to look at a case file, that much information, what was left behind, what you have in the public domain and not in the public domain related to the Maxwell prosecution. And she's going to be able, she's going to know if there are things missing from the record that would normally be in the record for a proper investigation, the proper management of a case of that magnitude. And even if she sort of doesn't completely know what she doesn't know, she's going to have questions. And we're not getting any of that. We're not getting any of the, I'm sifting through, I'm working through, there's some things that are suspicious. We have this problem in Manhattan with judges that have put gag orders on the disclosure of particular individuals, like Dershowitz said. We're not getting any of that. We're getting, I have prurient material, child pornography that's never going to see the light of day because it would be additionally exploitive to the victims. And there is no client list. End of story. We're moving on. And it's still not good enough. Not to me. All right, we've got more on this because I want to get to some things that Tucker Carlson said, in addition to the development of Ghislaine Maxwell herself saying that she is willing to essentially say what she knows before a congressional committee if there is said interest. There's interest. 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 71 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump is ramping up pressure on Russia to agree to a peace deal with Ukraine.
Donald Trump threatened very severe tariffs against Russia if there was no ceasefire deal in the next 50 days. He said they would be secondary tariffs at a rate of about 100%. Those tariffs are likely to be placed against countries that trade with Russia, the likes of China, India and Brazil, that buy discounted oil and gas from Moscow. And under the new agreement with NATO, the US will now offer weapons to Ukraine that NATO members will buy and then pass on to Kyiv. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
The Supreme Court is allowing the Trump administration to resume layoffs at the Department of Education.
U.S. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon is pleased at Monday's ruling.
This is a real victory, I think, for the future of American education.
McMahon said not being able to fire department personnel was a roadblock to the White House goal of returning education back to the states and out of the hands of the federal government. The court ruled 6-3 to lift a judge's order that reinstated employees let go in mass layoffs. I'm Brian Shook.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage with no subscription ever. Business owners can keep in touch with up to 200 staff members at one time. Go to rapidradios.com now for up to 60% off and free shipping. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next.
Hugh Hewitt takes it as a threat, but not much of one.
The threat by Iranian officials to strike him with a drone when he's sunbathing. Yeah, it's a threat, but he doesn't have to pay any attention to it because it's like the older kid holding the little kid at bay with a long outstretched arm while the little kid swings. If they try anything, he will level the place, and they know it.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Honey, we're not moving, but we gotta do something about this kitchen.
Funny you mention it. I just stopped by Forever Remodeling's new showroom in Niles. I saw over a dozen kitchen and bathroom layouts they designed. They even offered to stop by the house and give us a free in-home design consultation.
What'd you tell them?
That we're free today?
Visit foreverremodeling.com today. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com. Forever Remodeling, stress-free and high-quality remodeling.
It's Dr. David Goldbaba. Hey guys, it's not enough to manipulate your testosterone by getting those shots. Did you ever stop to ask, why is my testosterone level so low anyway? Well, if you're a Y guy like me, I've got something for you to think about. Hormone levels get skewed not with age. Hormones get skewed by poor lifestyle habits. Our male hormone test can help us find the why behind your male hormone challenges. So give us a call and get your male hormone test today. Pumping hormones into your bloodstream is not the answer, not without the many health risks associated. Stop tampering with your hormones, because if you don't, you'll probably live long enough to regret it. So from one Y guy to another Y guy, let's get her done the right way, the only way, taking more natural steps towards healthy hormone balance and performance today. It's our male hormone test. No blood, just spit. Call 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855. It's Health Quest Radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, this Saturday morning at 11.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere, delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
S&C brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Samsung TV Plus, channel 1177.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be hot with a mix of sun and clouds. Expect a thunderstorm in the area later this afternoon with a high of 92. Tonight, there may be a thunderstorm in spots early, then mainly clear, warm, and humid with a low of 74. Tomorrow will be hot and humid with a blend of clouds and sunshine, along with a few afternoon thunderstorms. The high will reach 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We're talking about the latest on Epstein and the drama inside the Trump administration. Part of that drama was the question of a contretemps between Bondi and Cash and Bongino. Cash and Bongino, that'd be a great working title of a buddy cop film. And actually, they are buddy cops. Anyway, Trump weighed in on Bongino because Cash tweeted over the weekend or posted on X over the weekend that I'm not going anywhere. I will continue to serve at the pleasure of the president as long as he'll have me, as we mentioned yesterday. Bongino was quiet. There was a suggestion he wouldn't be at work on Monday, that it was either she goes or I go sort of ultimatum that was operative. Well, Trump said not the case. He talked to Dan, and everything's copacetic. And he was at work yesterday.
Oh, I think so. I did. I spoke to him today. Dan Bongino, very good guy. I've known him a long time. I've done his show many, many times. And he sounded terrific, actually. No, I think he's in good shape. On this one-year anniversary of...
So he's in good shape. Ostensibly means there is no acrimony, or at least not any that will be offered up to the public, and everybody is going to fly in formation. Okay. Well, not everybody is going to fly in formation. Inside the administration, perhaps, but in the larger MAGA world, less so. Matt Walsh, the podcaster, documentarian, What is a Woman? He offered this commentary yesterday, which is not dissimilar from what I've offered over the last couple of shows, but take a listen.
Now, of course, we have no idea what information, if any, this sociopath, this evil woman will ultimately reveal. But the fact remains that, especially after the humiliating display by Bondi and the DOJ we've all just witnessed, it's probably worth listening to Maxwell's testimony. If a client list exists at this point, she's the most likely person to tell us. Now, yes, it's an indictment of Pam Bondi and the DOJ that we see any reason to listen to a ghoul like this, but that's where we are. Millions of Americans are not satisfied with what we've been told. And we shouldn't be, because it's been contradictory and insulting to our intelligence every step of the way. So now we're looking elsewhere. This is what happens when people are deceived and strung along for years, only to be told that they're not entitled to any kind of transparency whatsoever. People are not just going to move on with their lives, no matter how badly you want them to. And there's a reason for that. And I want to make this very clear to those on the right, including the president himself, who are telling us to just drop the subject and move on. We can't drop it. We can't move on, because what we want is justice. We have a deep desire for justice. And we can see how the corrupt and the powerful are never held accountable. We can look at our cities and see violent criminals running rampant in the streets, also not held accountable. We want these evildoers to be punished. We want the innocent to be defended. We want justice. It's one of the most basic and most honorable of all human desires. We want to see that justice is done. We want to know who else was in those awful videos that Pam Bondi told us about. And we want those people to be dragged in front of us, weeping and begging for mercy. We want them exposed and humiliated and shamed and punished in the harshest and most painful way, because that's justice. And we're not going to drop the subject until we get it. So unseal everything, including the search warrants and the financial disclosures. Tell us what exactly was in those truckloads of documents that you recovered in New York. Show us the phase 2 Epstein files that you told us about just a few months ago. In other words, don't give us any more excuses from bureaucrats on Fox News. Don't give us any more stonewalling and doublespeak. We've seen more than enough of that in this case and so many others. Instead, for a change, give us something we're not used to seeing from the federal government and the DOJ. Give us justice.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. As I mentioned, what Walsh is referencing, Ghislaine Maxwell saying that she is open to telling her story, happy to sit before Congress and tell her story, according to a source. Despite the rumors, Ghislaine was never offered any kind of plea deal. She would be more than happy to sit before Congress and tell her story, a source telling the Daily Mail. No one from the government has ever asked her to share what she knows. She remains the only person to be jailed in connection to Epstein, and she would welcome the chance to tell the American public the truth. Well, obviously, you would have to listen to what Ghislaine Maxwell has to say with a jaundiced ear. But yeah, I mean, is Matt Walsh not right? I mean, this is where we're at, considering hearing from Ghislaine Maxwell and having members of Congress cross-examine her to, see how she holds up under such scrutiny in terms of her credibility. That's where we're at because of what we've gotten from the administration. And, the other thing that Walsh is saying, which I've said as well, is you can't look at this case in a vacuum. This case is important because it involves clearly powerful people. Dershowitz has stipulated to that. He just won't tell us which names he's seen and the characterization of said names. The most powerful people engaged in some cases, apparently statutory rape. And somebody knows who they are, and authorities should know who they are, and yet Ghislaine Maxwell is the only one who has been prosecuted in relation to this case. I mean, obviously Epstein was to be prosecuted, dying in jail as he did. But the beneficiaries, if you will, or co-conspirators in this sex trafficking operation, none there. So that's a big deal. The relationships that Epstein had to deep state actors in this country and fleshing that out, that's a big deal. But the other big deal aspect of this that Walsh is getting to is it's a proxy for everything else. if we can't get the truth here, then what confidence that does the American public have, and the jilted MAGA portion of the American public, what confidence can they have in the Justice Department, or even in this notion of justice from their federal government? And that's a big deal, too. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line, Ed, Northside.
Yeah, Dan, let me give you my opinion on these Epstein files. I would love to know what's on them, okay? I won't lie about it. I'm curious. But I want Trump to make the decision, and here's why. It's not that I love him. I need this guy. Therefore, I want to do everything I can to make him happy. That's the way I see it.
Well, okay. Trump's not going anywhere. I need this guy. Where's he going? I mean, are you afraid he's going to be implicated if the files were released? I'm not. He's never seemed to be, despite some of the salacious rumor mongering to the contrary. So, I need this guy. I'm just going to defer to his judgment unquestioningly. And that's not where I'm at. Glenn in Orlando.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. So Pam Bondi reports to Trump. Trump is calling the shots. He is protecting something. I don't know what it is, but, you know, how would you like it if during World War II, Eisenhower decided not to film the concentration camp liberations and not knowing that information? We really need the transparency, especially what happened after what happened in the last 4 years under the Biden administration, where everything was such a secret and we knew we were being hoodwinked on multiple items. We really need, no matter who it hurts, we really need the truth out. Above all, the truth has to be top.
Thanks for the call, Glenn. Well, the other thing that's happening, and this was the argument that Miranda Devine and others made that we poured over yesterday, it's fracturing MAGA and providing aid and comfort to flailing and malign Dems. Well, I mean, there's certainly some truth to that. Here was Tucker Carlson on the Cultural Apothecary podcast.
I guess they're just so dumb, they didn't realize that if you tell everybody you have the tapes of these crimes and then you issue a memo saying you're not going to prosecute anybody for the crimes, what are you saying? I'm covering up for the perpetrators of these crimes. Duh. They have no one with an IQ over 80 over there to read the memos? Are you kidding?
Not exactly complimentary. And I understand that, there are fans of Tucker and there are Tucker detractors, particularly given some of his more recent forays. But he still has influence in MAGA world, and I don't think his opinion is the one he holds alone at this juncture in this saga. Ron, Southside.
Yeah, Dan, to the caller, I'm not going to do any and everything for anyone. That makes no sense. I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to do any and everything to get to the truth, to get to facts, so we can have justice. Nobody is beyond reproach. And see, that's one of the problems that we have just with politics, period. Left, right, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do any and everything to make them happy. That's disgusting. Have a good day.
Yeah, I'm inclined to be with you on that, Ron. We're a little too deferential to our temporary representatives, aren't we? Even the ones that are better than most. A little too deferential. There are temporary representatives. They're not kings. They're certainly not gods. Their judgment is not beyond reproach. No one's is, because we're all flawed. So, I agree that it's sort of this poisonous, government-centric mentality where we think we don't believe it, that somehow these are our betters, These are superhumans in public office. But then we act contrary to what we say we believe. We do fall in the trap of the magical thinking that private vice becomes public virtue, as Ambrose Bierce observed. Something else, too. I mean, you still have this issue. It's a secondary issue, but it goes to the larger issue of am I being leveled with, of the tape from the prison. And the videotape that was advertised as being raw footage, that wasn't raw footage. Don't believe so. And thus the questions that persist about murder or suicide, even though there does seem to be unanimity even on that matter, even if there isn't on the approach being taken generally between the FBI and DOJ, that it was a suicide. Dershowitz addressed that again. He's addressed it before. He believes it was a suicide, but that Epstein didn't act alone.
You know, the elephant in the room. Was he murdered? Did people who he had something on come and murder him? First of all, if he had something on anybody, it would be in tape or in writing, and killing him wouldn't have helped very much because that would have just made sure that they were searched for and the material would have been found. No, but he wasn't murdered. He committed suicide. I had my doubts about it initially because he potentially could have gotten bail. Probably not, but he possibly could have gotten bail, and I would have thought would have waited at least until bail was denied before he permanently took his life. And so I've never believed. I've always had doubts, but I've never believed that he was murdered. In any event, how do you get to murder somebody in a federal prison? It's not easy. It's not impossible. Whitey Bulger was murdered by fellow inmates, but I don't think he was murdered. But I do think he was helped to commit suicide. I suspect he paid off some of the guards, and I think some of the guards have been fired. Remember, the cameras were turned off. His cellmate was sent to a different cell. And the guards were sleeping or off duty or just, they weren't there at the relevant periods of time. So I do think that there was negligence, but I don't think he was murdered. I don't think anybody would really have a motive to murder him. First of all, if he were to tell on anybody, who's going to believe Jeffrey Epstein? He would have to have proof. And if he had proof, then the proof would probably still be there. I mean, that's all circumstantial, but I don't think that that he was murdered.
You know, it's something. I mean, that's is certainly plausible to my mind. What he laid out, but it's one of those things too. Is like, why don't we have an answer to that question? If there was collaboration with his suicide, if he did indeed pay off the guards, we don't have evidence of that. Not to my recollection. We have evidence that the guards were asleep, literally asleep at the switch. And there was disciplinary action taken. It was the Barr investigation post Epstein's death. But there are there are conflicting reports from forensic pathologists about cause of death. I get that. But do we know? Were the guards' financial records investigated? Any evidence of any sort of improper payment? You would have had to believe, given Epstein's wealth, the guards certainly knew this. If they were going to take a bribe to assist him with this, it would have to be substantial. And, maybe it's difficult to hide that money. Certainly experienced investigators and prosecutors should be able to track that down, or these individuals could have avoided more serious disciplinary action had they cooperated and disclosed. I don't know. But it's just it's one of a kind of the whole problem from beginning to end here. I don't know answers to relatively commonsensical, straightforward questions. And when I ask them, I get either stonewalled or dismissed or treated to ridiculous responses that, as Matt Walsh said, insult my intelligence. By the way, Ghislaine Maxwell, you'll recall, in a 2023 interview, she gave from prison, she believes that Epstein was murdered. Now, again, I mean, who's Ghislaine Maxwell? She's just a ghoul who participated in this evil business. But who knows? She may be before a congressional committee in the not-too-distant future.
No, he didn't. I don't believe he did. I believe that he was murdered. Well, I was shocked. And I wondered how it had happened. Because as far as I was concerned, he was going to... I was sure he was going to appeal. And I was sure that he was covered under the non-prosecution agreement.
Yeah.
But I wasn't in the indictment. So I wasn't mentioned. I wasn't even one of the co-conspirators. I believe that he was murdered.
Providing aid and comfort to the enemy here as a concern that's been raised by some Trump supporters. Well, right. It puts some House Republicans in a difficult spot. It gives opportunity for House Democrats to pretend to have the moral high ground here. So, for example, Ro Khanna, who's a phony moderate from California, introduced an amendment during an amendment to release the Epstein files in the House Rules Committee, and the majority Republicans on the House Rules Committee voted 7-5 to block the amendment. And so this just says, so now you have to get other people to participate in your stonewalling because they've got to protect the administration's position on the issue. And then you can have Hakeem Jeffries posturing from the lectern about transparency and full truth and nothing but the truth. George in Naperville.
Yes, Dan, have the guards that were watching Epstein bought new Cadillacs or homes?
Yeah, it's a wonderful Goodfellas reference, George. You know how that worked out for the capo who bought the pink Cadillac, don't you? Unfortunately, the guards, I mean, that would actually be interesting, too. I mean, if we're going to have Ghislaine Maxwell before a congressional committee, since the guards have been resurrected here as material parties, maybe bring them in, too. Have a whole show trial about it. All right, coming up at 6:06, is it time to make amends with the conservatives in your family that you excommunicated? The subject of New York Times piece. It is now 6 o'clock, AM 560 WIND.
They can resume shrinking the Department of Education. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The Supreme Court gives the Trump administration a green light to lay off nearly 1,400 workers, lifting a judge's order blocking that, sending the case back to an appeals court. Education Secretary Linda McMahon tells Fox.
This lifts the handcuffs off of what we've been trying to do, which really is to get education back to the states.
Part of a broader effort to eliminate the cabinet-level department, even as the legal challenge continues. The Supreme Court's 3 liberal justices noted their dissents. Justice Sonia Sotomayor says only Congress can eliminate the department, and the judiciary has a duty to check lawlessness, not expedite it.
That's Fox's Jared Halpern of the White House. 23 Democrat-led states also filed another lawsuit trying to stop the Education Department from blocking school funding already approved by Congress. The U.S. is sending a lot more military aid, including air defense missiles to Ukraine, paid for by NATO, with President Trump saying he's very unhappy with Russia, demanding an end to the war or else economic sanctions.
If we don't have a deal in 50 days, tariffs at about 100%, you'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means.
Well, those would hit Russia's trading partners. Today, the president will go to Pittsburgh for an innovation summit with dozens of CEOs focused on investments in energy and AI. There are still flood alerts this morning from North Carolina into Virginia up to Delaware after heavy rain flooded some streets and basements, leading to a state of emergency declared in New Jersey.
We got close to 8 inches of rain in Pennsylvania, 7 inches close in New Jersey, and the second wettest hour on record for New York. So we got over 2 inches of rain in less than an hour.
Fox meteorologist Janice Dean, that rain and flooding snarled travel in the Northeast, canceling more than 2,000 flights. Another 500 grounded today, many from Newark, New York, Philadelphia, Washington. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. morning. It's 71 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 The Answer newsroom, I'm Nikki Whaley. The search continues for a missing at-risk Chicago woman. The family of Felicia Bates says she's in desperate need of her medication.
She's in a need of her medication. She's a diabetic, and she has a significant medicine that she needs at this time. She has not had her medicine in over a week.
The 49-year-old woman was last seen near a CTA bus stop on the south side earlier this month. Bates was last spotted wearing a burgundy top, capri blue jeans, and blue gym shoes with pink around them. Anyone with any information on her whereabouts is urged to contact the Chicago Police Department. An air quality alert is in effect today in Chicagoland. The National Weather Service says an air pollution action day has been declared for the Chicago area today. This happens when weather conditions can potentially cause health problems for certain groups of people. Active children and people with pulmonary or respiratory diseases should limit prolonged outdoor activity. The woman convicted in the 2007 killing of former Chicago Bears Sean Gale's pregnant girlfriend will have to wait even longer for her chance to receive a retrial. A Lake County judge postponed a planned hearing yesterday for Maureen Yang after prosecutors claimed her attorney, Judd Stone, introduced evidence he hadn't previously turned over. Yang is serving a life sentence. The judge has scheduled a status hearing in the case for August the 18th. News is a service of Quick Delivery Service. Make Quick Delivery Service your personal ground crew anytime, anywhere, any place. When you need to move your shipment or freight, Quick Delivery will get it there. Get a quote in advance and eliminate any surprises at quickdelivery.com. I check the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
If you've ever wanted to meet Larry Elder, Hugh Hewitt, Mike Gallagher, or Charlie Kirk, now's your chance. It's AM 560's Terrific Talkers VIP Experience Contest. Enter today for a chance to meet your favorite host and sit in on a live broadcast. The grand prize includes airfare and 3 nights of accommodations. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/VIP. That's 560theanswer.com/VIP.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Allie Dwyer and her 3 sons lost their hero, Stephen. Serving our country in the United States Army was Stephen's calling, and flying helicopters was his passion. Stephen was killed in a Black Hawk helicopter crash over the Mediterranean Sea. Thanks to friends like you, Tunnel to Towers provided his family with a mortgage-free home, giving them security and hope in their darkest hours. Help more families like the Dwyers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions, like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Let me take a moment to talk about one of our loyal sponsors, QC Kinetics, Regenerative Medicine. You've been hearing their ads on the station for 2 years, and the response from listeners has been exciting and emotional. So many are getting relief from chronic joint pain thanks to stem cell therapy from QC Kinetics. In fact, 92% of patients report satisfaction with their results. Even Joe Rogan loves it. AM 560 listener Tracy is proud to report she is a new QC Kinetics customer. If you're stuck in a cycle of painful steroid shots and considering surgery, stop now and contact my friends at QC Kinetics. Get a free consultation to learn how regenerative medicine using your own body's biologic healing properties can help your body heal itself. This is advanced cellular therapy. It doesn't cost anything for a second opinion. Weekend appointments are available. This could be life-changing, so call today to learn more and see if you're a candidate. Call 312-809-5955. Tell them Dan Prof sent you when you do. That's 312-809-5955. Again, 312-809-5955.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 8 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 13 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 17 minutes. Outbound, about 15 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 12 minutes. Outbound is about 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of Turnkey. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. For a limited time, Turnkey's offering all new customers their first month of service free, including Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, data backup, plus 24/7 help desk support. Visit turnkey.pro today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be hot with a mix of sun and clouds, possibly a thunderstorm later this afternoon. Expect a high of 92. Tonight, there may be isolated thunderstorms early, then mainly clear, warm, and humid with a low of 74. Tomorrow will be hot and humid with a blend of clouds and sunshine. A few thunderstorms likely in the afternoon. Look for a high of 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Every so often we get an op-ed like this one from David Litt in the New York Times. And it's intended we need to forge common ground. We need to live in a world where we agree to disagree. We can't be so intolerant as to want to injure socially, professionally, someone who disagrees with us, to sever ties to family members over political views. Right, we've done this. We did this the first time Trump won, when D.C. press corps denizens were going to rush out to comb flyover territory in America and find out who these Trump voters are, get an understanding of them. How thick is our bubble? Wanted to be more engaged, more conscious of the diversity of America that we talk so much about, but know very little about, at least when it comes to political and intellectual diversity. These people in places we don't live, what is their deal? And then it persisted the COVID. Let's have a COVID amnesty after the ravages of the lockdowns and the uncivil, frankly, in many cases, inhumane treatment of people who didn't share the COVIDians' Chicken Little approach to the virus and enthusiasm for anti-small d Democratic mandates. But hey, bygones are bygones. Let's be friends. We always get that. And we occasionally get these op-eds that get a lot of attention and are supposed to be signaling a new era of good feelings. A restoration of the comity of the American people. And so we have this piece from David Witt. But I got to tell you, first of all, I'm generally unimpressed with this guy. He's sort of annoying, even though this is supposed to be a sort of a mea culpa. Secondly, I don't know that it's representative of what's happening on the left. I'm skeptical. The piece and pertinent part, David Witt was a former Obama speechwriter, and he has an Ivy League degree. His brother-in-law, Matt, is a huge Joe Rogan fan and went on to get his electrician's license. Huge Joe Rogan fan. Like, that's so different. Joe Rogan, the Bernie bro? Yeah, anyway. He writes, does David Witt, my early memories of Matt are hazy. I was mostly trying to impress his parents. This is his brother-in-law. We got along, chatting amiably on holidays and at family events. Then the pandemic hit, and our preferences began to feel more than differences in taste. We were on opposite sides of a cultural civil war. The deepest divide was vaccination. I wasn't shocked when Matt didn't get the COVID shot, but I was baffled. Turning down a vaccine during a pandemic seemed like a rejection of science and self-preservation. It felt like he was tearing up the social contract that until that point I imagined we shared. Had Matt been a friend rather than a family member, I probably would have cut off contact completely. As it was, on the rare and always outdoor occasions when we saw each other, I spoke in disapproving snippets. My frostiness wasn't personal, it was strategic. Being unfriendly to people who turned down the vaccine felt like the right thing to do. How else could we motivate them to mend their ways? Yeah, I'm not opposed to shaming. It's just the underlying substance of the motivation. Anyway, my aside. He continued. Recent data suggests that 1 in 5 Americans is estranged from a family member over politics. More points of deep disagreement will surely arise between David and Matt over Trump policies, of course. He writes, no one is required to spend time with people they don't care for, but for those of us who feel an obligation to shun strategically, we need to ask, what has all the banishing accomplished? It's not just ineffective, it's counterproductive. These days, ostracism might just hurt the ostracizer more than the ostracizee. I wish I could say I learned this through self-reflection and study. What actually happened is that I started surfing. After moving to the Jersey Shore in 2022, I signed up for lessons. Despite my advanced age of 35 and lack of natural talent, I got hooked. Matt was the only other surfer I knew. I put my principled unfriendliness aside. From the moment we began paddling out together, I could tell my cold shoulder strategy had backfired. I'd spent the peak of the pandemic in a cultural bubble, and he had done the same. I assumed our surf buddy experiment would either fail spectacularly or bring Matt over to my side. Neither of those things occurred. Instead, the connections we found were tiny and unrelated to politics. Matt and I remain very different, yet we've reached what is, in today's America, a radical conclusion. We don't always approve of each other's choices, but we like each other. Oh, it's a happy ending. Am I being too cynical here, or has there been in your life a rapprochement with friends or family members who you have gotten into disputes with about Trump or COVID or some other political matter? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. David Witt, the Obama speechwriter, talking about his brother-in-law, Matt, also said, basically that the surfing thing, Matt's a good surfer. He wasn't, as he mentioned. And Matt helped him out, sort of mentoring him and teaching him how to be better surfer, to enjoy it more. David writes, his generosity of spirit in the water made me rethink my own behavior on land. He goes on, our differences are meaningful, but allowing them to mean everything is part of how we ended up here. When we cut off contacts or let algorithms sort us into warring factions, we forget that not so long ago, we used to have things to talk about that didn't involve politics. Shunning plays into the hands of the demagogues, making it easier for them to divide us and even, in some cases, to incite violence. He should know he worked for one. There are, of course, people so committed to odiousness that it defines them. If Stephen Miller wants a surf lesson, I'll decline. But are most people like that? In an age when banishment backfires, keeping the door open to unlikely friendship isn't a betrayal of principles, it's an affirmation of them. Oh, quite the high-minded 180 that David Litt did, we're led to believe. But he has to get Stephen Miller shot in there at the end, because that's beyond, Stephen Miller's beyond the pale, of course. I don't know. I'm just not buying this newfound generosity of spirit that David Litt alleges to possess, infecting the larger left cohort of the population. Are you? I don't feel like the treatment is getting any better, or the disposition towards punishing people who you disagree with socially and politically, maybe even violently. I don't think that's subsiding in any measurable way. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line, John in Portage Park.
Yeah, good morning. I look at the people on the left, the real radical people. I kind of feel sorry for them. It's like the mask people. I used to ridicule them and try and talk sense into them. Then I just gave up. I feel sorry for those people. Really, they're too far gone. And maybe I'm just getting older, but I just kind of feel sorry for them, Dan.
Well, I mean, it's nice for you to have empathy. To some extent. I mean, the otherwise harmless and just sort of just misguided and gaslit and frightened. People go through life frightened all the time. I mean, I get it. But in terms of those, like the David Litts of the world, these officious, self-regarding elites, no. Yeah, I don't have any empathy for them. The awfuls or raffles, rich, angry, white leftist females in places like River Forest and Wilmette and Hinsdale, no. These are just rank hypocrites. They're barbarians. They're destroyers of civilization. I can't provide quarter to that. No matter if they're doing it knowingly or unwittingly, because they have a credential, they have good test scores, but they have no discernment, they have no wisdom, they have no humanity. They're maladjusted and ill-tempered. No. Yeah. I mean, I'm not seeking them out. I'm not doing what the left does, is like figuring out what their business is and trying to hurt them professionally. But I'm not going to pretend that they are someone other than who they are. I'm not going to pretend that they represent something other than they represent. Think of Sean Casten. I'm not trying to hurt him professionally. I would like to hurt him politically, just in the sense of seeing somebody else elected to be the member of Congress, but that's the extent of it. But I'm not going to pretend that we have some common ground to be forged where we're going to, spend our summers on the golf course or at the coffee shop having robust discussions on the salient issues of the day. I mean, the dynamic of the William F. Buckley and the John Kenneth Galbraith, or even the William F. Buckley and the Gore Vidal, I'd like to believe that those relationships were possible, but I see very few examples on the left of people who have the maturity to engage in that way. And the most immature tend to be the most credentialed, as we have so documented. Let me give you an example of what else is really happening out there. Because we're supposed to, David Witt is extending an olive branch. Make sure everybody reads this New York Times piece because, the left isn't bad people and they're trying to find a middle way and so forth. Not really. That's not where critical mass is. That's like finding, my friend is still a Democrat, but he's a John F. Kennedy Democrat. He's a conservative Democrat, but he's still a Democrat. Well, that's interesting, but that tells me nothing about, maybe it tells me something about your friend, that he's a slow learner. But it says nothing about the party to which he affiliates, which is a neo-Marxist party. So, David Witt's, coming to terms with his brother-in-law and finding value in his brother-in-law because of their surfing experience together, it tells me very little about the cultural dynamic between left and right. This tells me more. San Francisco's storied Swan Oyster Depot has been slammed with one-star reviews after a social media post publicized what appeared to be the business's support for Trump. What was the indication that the business supported Trump? A hat that featured the numbers 45 and 47, of course, which represent Trump's presidential terms. Somebody spotted the hat during a visit to Swan Oyster Depot, and she posted online, did everyone know this? And it was shared on Reddit where, all of these orcs, ascended from Middle Earth to attack Swan Oyster Depot the only way they know how, which is to give them one-star reviews, even though this is a storied place, to try to punish the restaurant, economically, to try and hurt their brand and their bottom line, because that's what they do. Kevin Sansamino, the co-owner of Swan Oyster Depot, told the San Francisco news outlet that saw the social media post, and it was an unfair representation of his family's business. What Swan Oyster Depot actually does is when it receives gifts from customers, they just place the gifts throughout the store. So in point of fact, if you actually looked at the display where the Trump hat was, right next to it was a stack of books that included a copy of Hillary Rodham Clinton, Her Essential Wisdom. Is that a joke book? No, that's it. But a Hillary Clinton, Rodham Clinton book, as James Freeman observes in the Wall Street Journal. For any reasonable visitor to the restaurant, a hat accurately noting that Trump is our 45th and 47th president ought to be less controversial than a book claiming Hillary Clinton offers essential wisdom. Yeah, exactly. The co-owner of the restaurant, Kevin Sansamino, I mentioned, he had this to say: people can have their different political views, and we can all coexist in the same space. I just find it to be a little bit sad that somebody would try to make a pariah out of someone or their business for having an alternative political view. It seems myopic. Why does political belief not fall under the realm of inclusivity? Yeah, right. A bit myopic. Well, right, you're describing what is. Myopia is a feature, not a bug, to the left. Take a few more calls. James in Naples.
Good morning. I think things are actually getting worse. Recently, with the 4th of July holiday, one of my siblings, there's 6 remaining of us, sent out a happy Independence Day. And the responses that he got from 3 of my siblings were apoplectic, anti-American, anti-Trump. So I don't think anything's going away. And I suspect the next time I'll see at least 3 of my siblings will be going forward, will be at funerals.
Sad commentary, but thanks for the call, James. Dave in Romeoville.
I'm kind of similar to him. Over the 4th of July, we had a big party. We had one not show up. We actually didn't even show up for funerals in the last year or 2. But others have. And the big thing I take away from that article, and my personal experience is there's no acknowledgement that they might be wrong about something.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're still very positive. I'm the crazy person, but got some good qualities, kind of like, the brother-in-law Matt. They think they're right about everything. And the wildest one is COVID. Like the science has shown, our experience now has shown how many things the narrative was wrong on. And like he brought up vaccines, I think he said in that article.
Yeah.
Vaccination. And yet they're still stuck that they're right and they did the right thing. It's like, no, you didn't. But there's a lot, though. They're ready. They don't want to talk about it. And then if it kind of comes up, they say, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm fine with that. I don't need to try and convince them. I used to try to convince people with like the soft sell. I don't go at them hard like a Dan Prof. And now it's just nothing.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Dave. I mean, it's difficult when you're not starting from the same premises. People always say, like, it'd be great to get more the leftists on the show. And I'm like, sure, I'm happy to talk to people on the left. I prefer to have ideas presented side by side. Most of them are too afraid to come on this show for obvious reasons. Why does sausage resist the grinder? But it is difficult to have a substantive conversation if you're not starting from the same sort of fundamentals of belief in a free society. But I mean, this sort of mob mentality that you see illustrated in the story that I just brought you about the restaurant in San Francisco. I mean, it's just very thuggish. I mean, the way that you move the needle is by persuading people. I mean, that's the way you should think about moving it. Making a case, providing information. Usually it's not an epiphany. But maybe you get somebody to think about the thing a little bit differently because you provided an anecdote or a data point that they didn't know or an argument they hadn't previously heard and considered. For open-minded people. And there are a lot of people who don't fit that description. I get it. But the left, as evidenced by this, I mean, again, the illustrations are myriad, but that's just a thuggish way to do it. What they want to do is impose their will. You shall bend the knee. It speaks to the intellectual vacuity of their position when you have to rustle up a mob of keyboard warriors to try to herd a resident with phony one-star reviews. Joe in Arlington Heights.
Hey, good morning. These are self-righteous prigs who can't admit they are wrong. And because they don't have that capacity, an olive branch is offered because they can no longer grind our noses into the dirt with their false religion. So this is as far as they can go. It hurts them to admit. They can't admit, I was wrong, you were right. It's impossible for them because they're self-righteous.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Tony and Roselle.
Thanks for taking my call. He just touched on my point. I think these conciliatory articles and opinions you're reading are an admission, not so much that they're wrong, that this hate and TDS-fueled nonsense is not getting them any traction. So it's disingenuous of them to – they're not really there to be conciliatory or be friendly. They just know that they're losing.
Yeah, I think that's.
It's a Trojan horse.
Tony, I think that's a really good point. I think right. If Kamala Harris was the president and the neo-Marxists had control of Congress, would David Witt have written that piece about his brother-in-law? I think it is a little bit of we're out of power, and this is sort of the posturing we need to do to soften the edges to get back into power when we can sharpen those edges again. Yeah. Pardon my skepticism of the left, but it is a skepticism developed through experience with them. Karen and Beecher.
Oh, good morning, Dan. I'm so grateful and thankful to still be able to listen to you and talk with you.
Thank you.
On both the COVID and the Trump topics, I don't know if you remember when I called with my crack pottery idea of you and I doing Reader's Theater of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Yes.
Because I can't get cast anywhere because of my views. I did not take any jab, so I was not allowed to audition. I was not allowed to even attend performances at first. I would not perform with a mask on. So again, another reason not to be cast. And then, because I was a Trump supporter and I wasn't a rah, 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 rah. But I was a common sense conservative person. That is verboten in the theater. So when Biden got in, everybody was like, God bless America. And I got ousted out the door and unfriended on Facebook, which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But I take great comfort and solace in being with you. And I hope you are studying up on George.
No. You're going to play George and I'm going to play Martha. We're going to do a little La Caja Fall. How about that? Would that be fun?
I got to get the script now.
Thanks, Karen. All right, coming up at 6:36, the latest installment of Sports and Politics. Jay Cutler in the crosshairs online. Yeah, Jay Cutler, 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 71 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Former President Biden is defending his use of an auto pen.
Biden says he made every decision on his own in comments from an interview with the New York Times. During his final weeks as president, Biden granted clemency and pardoned over 1,500 people. The Times reports Biden didn't individually approve each name for the categorical pardons that applied to large numbers of people. It comes after President Trump directed Attorney General Pam Bondi in June to investigate the use of AutoPen by Biden and to see if it was connected with a decline in his mental state. I'm Mark Mayfield.
President Trump's DOGE-related spending cuts are being debated in the Republican-controlled Senate this week.
The White House used a rarely used procedure that recommends Congress take back spending it has already approved. The House approved the billions of dollars in cuts by a narrow vote in June. The over $9 billion in reductions targets mostly foreign aid, but also funding for public broadcasting. The bill cannot be filibustered. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
The number of young children accidentally ingesting nicotine is way up. A new study in the journal Pediatrics says since 2020, there's been 736% increase in young kids ingesting nicotine pouches like Zen. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
If you've ever wanted to meet Larry Elder, Hugh Hewitt, Mike Gallagher, or Charlie Kirk, now's your chance. It's AM 560's Terrific Talkers VIP Experience Contest. Enter today for a chance to meet your favorite host and sit in on a live broadcast. The grand prize includes airfare and 3 nights of accommodations. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/VIP. That's 560theanswer.com/VIP.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
That shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
Hey, this is Honest Eddie from the car lot down the street.
Hi, Honest Eddie.
Is it true your showrooms don't have any employees?
That's right. Hasselus mattress showrooms are employee-free.
Now, don't you be dishonest with Honest Eddie.
It's true. Give the mattresses a try with no pushy sales guy. And through Monday, get additional instant savings of $248 off Sealy Posturepedic and Beauty Rest.
Son, to make it in sales, you gotta pressure people. Like, what's your budget? Or, I know it's the most expensive model, but trust me, it's the right one for you. And what's it gonna take to get you into a Sealy Posturepedic or Beauty Rest today?
But that's hassling customers.
Yeah, so?
Our store is called Hassle Less Mattress.
Just change the name. How about Wacky Westerns?
Uh-oh, you're breaking up. Gotta go.
Wait, no, let me talk to my manager.
Hasseless Mattress, 100% Eddie free. Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at hasseless.com.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Discover more at Viking.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 8 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 13 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 17 minutes. Outbound, about 15 minutes. On the Dan Moran inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 12 minutes. Outbound is about 11 minutes. This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. What if they can guarantee the price of Bitcoin will be $1 million in 2030? Well, they can't. But they can guarantee that you'll save a lot of money on their blinds at their company. Blindster.com. Free samples, free shipping, and guaranteed to fit. Shop at Blindster.com today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be hot with a mix of sun and clouds. Expect a thunderstorm in the area later this afternoon with a high of 92. Tonight there may be a thunderstorm in spots early, then mainly clear, warm, and humid with a low of 74. Tomorrow will be hot and humid with a blend of clouds and sunshine, along with a few afternoon thunderstorms. The high will reach 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Sports and politics and sports and politics and sports and politics and intersection. Arrogance and ignorance. Arrogance, ignorance, and arrogance and ignorance. Intersection.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. This installment of Sports and Politics, we begin Major League Baseball. We were just talking about the left's impunity when it comes to trying to impose their political will, the leftists' impunity. Remember back in 2021 when Georgia passed its Election Integrity Act and Major League Baseball responded after the hue and cry from the left, Joe Biden calling that legislation 21st century Jim Crow. Remember what Major League Baseball did? Sure you do. They pulled the All-Star game from Atlanta and sent it to Denver, where, of course, ironically, as we talked about at the time, Colorado had more restrictive voting laws than Georgia after the passage of the Election Integrity Act in Georgia. But of course, the substance is irrelevant to the left. It's the signaling that matters. And that includes Major League Baseball. And Rob Manfred should be pilloried for his political cowardice. But, these sports leagues never really suffer for their alignment with the left. I mean, frankly, the money is just too big, and because the fandom, particularly the gambling segment of the fandom, is too powerful. The 2021 Georgia Election Integrity Act, just a reminder, because this was so central to the racial demagoguery of that time period, expanded in-person early voting, expanded it, codified the use of drop boxes for absentee ballots while limiting their number and establishing security rules, shortened the absentee ballot request period from 6 months to 11 weeks, Jim Crow, maintained the 29-day voter registration period before an election, the same or longer than 12 other states, allowed people to bring food and water with them to their polling stations and take water from unintended receptacles. Set clear requirements for identification, banned ballot harvesting. That was Jim Crow 2.0 in Georgia. And Major League Baseball and its commissioner immediately wet themselves and pulled the All-Star game and took it to Colorado. Well, the All-Star game's back in Atlanta. But, as some of the callers were mentioning in our previous discussion, there's never an admission that we behave badly. We were wrong. And this is a make good. We're bringing it back to Atlanta. If Atlanta had any self-respect, which, of course, it doesn't, given the political power structure in big city America, including Atlanta, they would tell Major League Baseball to go pound sand. I'm sure Brian Kemp would be inclined to do that too. Oh, but you can't do it because it's such a provides such an economic benefit to the city and by extension the state. Yeah, you can, actually. You can. By the way, just as a quick aside too, Jim Crow 2.0, how wrong they were. They're not just wrong on the front end, the substance of these modest reforms to voting. Remember what Major League Baseball said. Major League Baseball, this is a quote from the statement. Major League Baseball fundamentally supports voting rights for all Americans and opposes restrictions to the ballot box. Any restrictions? I mean, every state has some restrictions, Major League Baseball, and more states should have more restrictions to ensure election integrity, which Major League Baseball should also support. The integrity of elections in America. You would think that would be important as well, but again, they are just doing what they are told to do by the hysterics on the left. So on the front end, you say, well, that's clearly they're not restricting anybody's ballot access, anybody's ability to vote. But on the back end, the data proves it. Early voting surged in Georgia in 2022, hit a record high in 2024. The state set an overall vote record in 2024, topping even the 2020 election, when Georgia had relaxed the rules because of the pandemic. Between 2020 and 2024, the number of black Georgians casting ballots increased by 800,000. So Stacey Abrams doesn't have much of an audience anymore, or federal government funding to prop her up and maintain her marginal relevance. And the All-Star game is back in Atlanta. But there's been no acknowledgement from Major League Baseball that they behaved badly, that they were wrong. They were wrong on the front end. The data on the back end backs it up. And they owe Atlanta, well, they owe the state of Georgia an apology. We don't get that. And so, frankly, Major League Baseball can go pound sand. And I'm not just saying that because, the White Sox are again in the cellar by a wide margin. And so I can't generate much interest for baseball. It's another example of it. And these sports leagues are all the same, unfortunately, with perhaps the exception of golf, although golf has its live problem. Perhaps the exception of tennis. I don't know. Golf and pickleball. I guess that's where it's at. Another piece on here. If anybody wants to weigh in on Major League Baseball, Cubs fans I know are excited because the Cubs are in first place by a game. That won't last. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line, text line. Sticking on Chicago for a second, not the Cubs, but the Bears. Former quarterback Jay Cutler, you remember him. He's the second winningest quarterback in Bears history. You know who the first is? I've told you before on the show. Surprising. Jay Cutler posting on Instagram this week. Where do we find Jay Cutler these days? He's on a safari in Africa, and he's on a hunt. And he posted on Instagram. And you know Jay Cutler knew what he was doing here. He knows the reaction he's going to get from the Instagram verse by posting this picture. Kicked off the Africa hunt with a beauty, sable down. And it's a picture of Jay Cutler kneeling over a dead sable antelope. It's big animal. Smiling. And the reactions you're going to get, about beautiful animals and terrible hobby and beyond disgusting and shame on you. Shame. You're an awful human being, total scumbag. And then you get, of course, the worst quarterback I ever watched in my life. You got to get that in there, too. Makes me sick, blah, blah, blah. So all, the mob, the same mob that's out there writing one-star reviews on that San Francisco restaurant because they saw a 45-47 hat on display there is, always patrolling, looking for other opportunities to heap scorn on those who fail to abide their orthodoxy. And so Jay Cutler's feeling it right now. Now, I've never been a big Jay Cutler fan, but it's kind of fun that he does this with impunity, knowing the kind of reaction he's going to get. And I think he is a center-right type of guy. All right, speaking of which, one more piece of information. This is really interesting how, because, my argument is always that the sports press corps is an extension of the D.C. press corps. Generally speaking, the sports press corps leftists, and they still want to be taken seriously, that they adopt the positions of the dominant news press corps, which is, of course, overwhelmingly left. You certainly see that Chicago sports writers for generations, with few exceptions. But there is this aspect of the sports press corps, the sports influencers, that are very concerning to the left. There's a piece in The Guardian, how the right-wing sports bro conquered America. And it focuses on Pat McAfee specifically because of his popular podcast / show on ESPN. I don't know how anybody watches ESPN. I really don't. I don't. Those shows are unwatchable. They're worse than the cable news shows. I don't know how many listens to sports radio for more than 10 minutes either, frankly. And I'm a huge sports fan. But anyway, I digress. The article coming from the left, very concerned about the right-wing sports bros. And, McAfee has had his missteps, including when he apparently falsely accused a 19-year-old undergrad at Ole Miss of having sex with her boyfriend's father. This became a thing. Anyway, this is being used. His misstep there is being used as evidence of this bro culture that is destructive. Aaron Timms writes, the world of sports influence such as McAfee, which is particularly influential among young men and can be understood as an extension of the Donald Trump-aligned manosphere, now stands as an important bastion of the the culture of insensitivity and entitlement on which Trumpism thrives. McAfee is now the avatar of a new generation of sports talk stars who've upended the rules about public speech, remade culture in their own brash image, and are completely bulletproof. And he mentions Dave Portnoy as part of this. Apparently, Antonio Brown has a podcast. Oh my gosh, can't imagine what that is like. And he just sort of goes through and tries to take apart all of the people that he counts as part of this manosphere of entitlement and insensitivity that is aligned with Trump and has had this malign impact on our culture and so forth. They're not all my cup of tea. I'm not a huge Dave Portnoy fan, for example. However, I don't think it's really that. I think the 18 to 25-year-olds that make Pat McAfee so popular, they're just interested in having fun. And, McAfee's, this is why, College Game Day is such a popular show on ESPN. And that is a fun show, actually. One of the few. The pregame for the college football Saturdays and so forth, and McAfee's a part of that. I think they're just interested in having fun, and it's okay to be like a heterosexual male who wants to have a couple of beers and watch football. It's just such a contrast from the avatars of pajama boys and soy boys and women pretending to be boys that the left platforms. I think it's just a contrast. It's a belonging. It's not because there's a desire to propagate cultural insensitivity or entitlement or denigrating of females or any of the things they say. You can be a real man. In fact, you're not a real man if you're somebody that denigrates females or treats females badly and so forth. But the archetype of the real man for the left is something that real men discard. And that's what you're seeing, sometimes not always in the most attractive presentations, but that's what you're seeing in terms of why the Pat McAfees and some of these other names mentioned have this following. I mean, in addition to McAfee's cast of characters and his knowledge of football and so forth. Anyway, Bill on the Northwest side.
Yeah, Dan, I had almost forgotten about Jay Cutler, which I've been trying to do.
Yeah.
The thing I remember about him is after a Bears loss, he'd be sitting in the press conference, acting like he was totally bored, couldn't care less that they lost, and just wanted to get out of there.
Well, he wanted to get out to Africa and kill some antelope. Yeah.
He cared more about that.
Do you know who the winningest quarterback in Bears history is?
I was going to say Jim McMahon, but I know I'm wrong.
No. I know. Below the fold. You forget about him. Mike Tomczak.
Oh, percentage-wise, right?
No, actual wins, raw wins. He was there a long time. Yeah. How about that?
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
My friend Paula just remodeled her kitchen. I feel bad. It's so bland.
Yeah. Everyone's using the same templated designs these days or just refacing cabinets.
Let's check out Forever Remodeling. They do full and custom kitchen remodels from the ground up, just for us.
It'd be nice to have a kitchen that's truly ours.
Exactly.
Don't get the same kitchen design as everyone else. Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
AM 560. The Answer.
Somebody texted in that don't forget tennis ban Novak Djokovic, if you remember his moniker at the time, from the Australian Open. That's true. Tennis has that black mark against it. Okay, anyway, we're done with sports and politics, and we're on, as you hear, to In-Depth History with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world, just the history you don't know, and Frank does. Frank, take it away.
Good morning. Poor Jay Powell. He's a lawyer by training, but runs the Fed. Maybe that's a good thing. Clearly, though, he's not the best administrator. A $2.5 billion remodeling of the Federal Reserve building now has huge cost overruns and threatens to become the most controversial architectural project since Friar Tetzel sold indulgences to finance St. Peter's Basilica. But the true for-cause reason for President Trump to fire him should have more to do with the harmful effects of what the Fed does, which is monetary central planning. Prior to the Fed, the money market had traditional supply and demand curves. The gold and later plus silver standard restricted monetary devaluation by limiting supply curve shifts. Mild deflation was a norm. When the Federal Reserve was created, except for the 30s, inflation roared. The supply of money curve now became vertical as the Fed set a target interest rate and it used open market operations to buy and sell treasuries to shift the supply of money curve to this target. Banks are rather sensitive to these changes under this limited reserves model, too, so they increased or decreased their own lending accordingly so as not to fight the Fed. But since 2008, the Fed has been operating under something called the ample reserves model. This is because rather than allow a severe recession and stock prices to drop, the Fed injected massive liquidity into the system. But to avoid the high inflation this would cause, commercial banks are basically forced to receive and now hold ample excess reserves, which they are paid interest on by the Fed or taxpayer, creating huge $100 billion annual losses. This model, get this, too, has a reverse S-shaped demand for money curve with double tails. You heard that right. And is so contorted that only a central banking mystic could imagine it. Go look it up. And there isn't really a way out of this mess quickly without serious financial consequence. So Ron Paul may soon be proven right.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Jay Powell makes it to the end of his term, which is next year. But regardless, part of it is, too, Frank, get your reaction, is, you need a Fed chairman, maybe Kevin Warsh is it, who says, look, I am not here to try to paper over the profligate fiscal policy of Congress and the president. So, because that's exactly what Powell and frankly, even a Randian like Greenspan that's exactly what's been going on at the Fed for a couple of generations now.
Well, yeah, Greenspan was a Randian. I remember reading all that stuff about him, and then he winds up just doing the same thing that has been done here after 9/11, 2001 tech bubble. So. I don't know who the answer is. I think the problem is you have a Federal Reserve. I'm with Rand Paul on this. I would be more of go back to some sort of gold standard, or you have these new types of cryptocurrencies and so forth. Something else needs to be done because they've created a big mess. They really have. Yeah, and devaluing our currency is not the answer. I mean, that's why Rand Paul talks about a potential cataclysmic event where people lose confidence in the dollar. But Frank, wonderful job as always. Thank you very much. It is now 7 a.m. AM 560 WIND Chicago.
A real push for artificial intelligence. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
We need to win the battle for AI innovation in America, and Pennsylvania is at the center of it.
That's why President Trump will go there today, joining Republican Senator Dave McCormick in Pittsburgh for an innovation summit with dozens of CEOs.
With an 11-figure check, this announcement, $70 billion for new data centers, power and grid infrastructure, industrial site conversions, and AI workforce development.
Fox's Peter Ducey at the White House. There's a Trump legal victory.
A divided Supreme Court lifted a district judge's order that temporarily reversed planned layoffs and other cuts from the Department of Education. It means the Trump administration can resume laying off nearly 1,400 employees, part of a broader effort to eliminate the cabinet-level department, even as the legal challenge continues.
That's Fox's Jared Halpern. Now, Democrats warn trimming or closing the Department of Education will slash programs and hurt students. And 23 states have filed another legal challenge trying to stop that department from blocking school funding already approved by Congress. The U.S. is coming to Ukraine's defense again, providing more weapons and ammo that NATO will pay for. President Trump says he's very unhappy with Russian leader Vladimir Putin after all their negotiations.
The talk doesn't mean anything. My conversations with him are always very pleasant. I say, isn't that a very lovely conversation? And then the missiles go off that night.
The president's giving Putin 50 days to end the war, or he'll impose 100% tariffs on Russia's trading partners. Speaking of tariffs, there's a 17% new one on fresh tomatoes from Mexico.
Those in favor of the move say it will help rebuild the shrinking U.S. tomato industry and ensure that produce eaten in the U.S. is also grown in the States. But opponents, including U.S. companies that grow tomatoes in Mexico, say it will make fresh tomatoes more expensive expensive for U.S. buyers and possibly disrupt the supply chain.
That's Hillary Barsky. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 72 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Charges are pending against a teen accused of stabbing a woman on the west side. Police say the victim was stabbed inside a home last night in the 500 block of South Laramie Avenue. The victim was sent to the hospital in critical condition. A 16-year-old boy was arrested at the scene. A longtime Chicago mall could be torn down in the near future. Crane Chicago reports Ford City Mall could be demolished as part of a $150 million plan to redevelop the site into a massive warehouse complex. The proposal was described in a letter sent by the 18th Ward Alderman Derek Curtis to his constituents. A developer is expected to submit an application to the Chicago City Council next week to rezone the 66-acre property. Construction could begin in the fall of 2026. One of the so-called ComEd 4 is headed to prison. John Hooker was sentenced yesterday to a year and a half behind bars. The sentence comes more than 2 years after he and Primagori, Michael McLean, and Jay Doherty were found guilty of conspiring to influence and reward former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan in order to assist with the passage of favorable legislation to ComEd. Hooker was ordered to report to prison on October 14th, one day after Madigan scheduled to begin serving his prison term. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Larry Elder.
The Larry Elder Show.
Dow Jones, S&P, NASDAQ, all three major indices hitting record highs. The hopeful passage of the big, beautiful bill, lower regulations, inflation has been tamed. I don't know. It just doesn't sound to me like we're on the verge of a recession, let alone a depression, which some people have predicted.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, this is Sean Thompson. You know, there's an old joke about Uncle Sam's tax short form. The first line says, "How much did you make?" The next line says, "Send it in." Sadly, that's not funny at all for honest people who pay taxes. But that's exactly what a lot of people do in their retirement. They take money out of their 401k and their IRA, and they send it into the IRS. Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group believes there's a better plan for your retirement than Uncle Sam's plan of send it in. What if your current plan includes thousands of dollars in unnecessary taxes and fees? What if you're headed for higher Medicare payments, lower Social Security checks? What if the savings you may realize allows you to retire even earlier? Wouldn't you want to know all of that right now? Call Tom Fortino and the team at Alpha Wealth Group and find out today. Call 630-864-6711. The number again, 630-864-6711. You can also visit alphawealthgroup.com to schedule your no-obligation consultation.
Allie Dwyer and her 3 sons lost their hero, Stephen. Serving our country in the United States Army was Stephen's calling, and flying helicopters was his passion. Stephen was killed in a Black Hawk helicopter crash over the Mediterranean Sea. Thanks to friends like you, Tunnel to Towers provided his family with a mortgage-free home, giving them security and hope in their darkest hours. Help more families like the Dwyers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions, like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys. And I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, it's about 17 minutes. Outbound is about 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, about 28 minutes. Outbound, about 24 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from about Wolf to the old post office, about 28 minutes. We do have an accident that's working about around Wolf Road that is causing you a bit of slowdowns. Now again, on the outbound side, it's about 24 minutes. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical BPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be hot with a mix of sun and clouds. Expect a thunderstorm in the area later this afternoon with a high of 92. Tonight there may be a thunderstorm in spots early, then mainly clear, warm, and humid with a low of 74. Tomorrow will be hot and humid with a blend of clouds and sunshine, along with a few afternoon thunderstorms. The high will reach 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. And remember a couple years ago, we brought you this story of rage rituals. These were retreats of basically suburban women, where there was a facilitator to help them get their rage out. They would go into, or they do, present tense, go into a forest and start screaming, take perhaps branches on the ground and start beating them against trees or the ground, get all their anger out. Mia Magic is the genius behind the rage rituals.
It's raging time. Rage has been demonized and villainized, especially in the feminine. But our sacred rage is what has incited so many movements, created so much change on our planet. It is imperative that we allow ourselves safe spaces to release this fiery, hot emotion from within us so that it can no longer poison or toxify our internal emotional reality. Even though a volcano can be destructive in its eruption, ultimately that is also what creates paradise. We have to give ourselves permission to fully emote, to release that which has remained stuck and suppressed inside of ourselves in order to be free.
Hi, I'm Mia Magic. Something I have become very notorious for and that my retreats are highly coveted in order to experience is rage rituals.
Are we ready for some rage?
Oh, we're ready. If you're gonna work with me, you know you're getting yourself into some pretty wild. You're gonna need big sticks.
Most women have been shamed for their anger. It's been something that they have been punished for or never allowed to show.
This is all about creating a safe space for people to truly experience the emotion that has been so shamed and so suppressed within us. Whether we have been verbally, physically, or sexually abused, so many women have never had the opportunity to stand up to those who have perpetrated violence or any kind of disrespect against themselves. And this is a place where we get to go full out without any holds barred, without any limitation, without any feeling of restriction.
starting in, feeling into what makes me angry, who has made me angry, who has hurt me, who has broken me, who has cut me down. Guess what? You're still here. Right now, I feel angry. Right now, I feel frustrated. Everything, whatever you're feeling, let it out. Express yourself. Let yourself feel. Be heard. Start shaking and moving.
If I had a nickel for every time my name came up in a rage ritual. Well, like all great ideas, it's spawning copycats. There's a new weekly event called Scream Club Chicago, created by Manny Hernandez, who recently moved to the city from L.A. Hernandez is a breathwork practitioner and men's transformational coach. And his idea for a Sunday night scream session on the lake came from his own experience with breathwork and the emotional release he has witnessed with clients. Quoting Manny, in my breathwork practice, we started doing screaming during the breathwork, and that's where a lot of people had their transformative experiences from that. So that's always kind of been a thing in my life, and it's helped me a lot. If I do it alone, I might scare some of my neighbors. If I do it with a group of people, then I scare all of my neighbors. I presume. I don't know. Is this a thing? I mean, do I have to ask? I'm a bit embarrassed to ask, but no, I want a professional opinion. And fortunately, we have a psychiatrist in the house. He is Theodore Dalrymple, contributing editor to City Journal, senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, and author of many books, including Buried But Not Quite Dead, Forgotten Writers of Peter Lachaise. Theodore Dalrymple, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me.
So the rage rituals or the scream clubs in major cities that apparently are starting to populate. I mean, is that a real way to get to a better state of mind?
Not in my opinion. No, we've been here before. Actually, this is not the first time people have suggested that screaming will help you. I think the problem is that most people, or many people, think of emotions rather as they think of pus. And if you don't let pus out, it accumulates, and then you get kind of septicemia. And if you don't express your emotions, you get kind of emotional septicemia. And I mean, the most absurd thing that I ever heard was, or one of the most absurd things I ever heard was a murderer who just said to me, "I had to kill her, doctor, or I don't know what I would have done." So,
right. How about not kill her? Yeah, that was one other option, right? So that's the whole thing, right? Is this like full emotive release as opposed to a little bit of restraint and maturation? There's always that option.
Yeah. I felt much better after I killed her. But anyway, my observation is that the more you express your rage, the more you feel it. And I mean, there are limits, of course. But generally speaking, the more you express that emotion, the more of it there is to express. And one must never forget that anger and righteous indignation are actually quite pleasurable emotions. So I don't know whether you've ever had this experience. Maybe I'm extrapolating from my own experience too much. But sometimes when I've been angry, I've continued the anger even after the real cause of the anger has dissipated, and I find that I'm actually rather enjoying myself.
Yes, I think that we have a term for that here, like sort of spiking the football. You're overdoing it. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah. No, but it's it's funny too to talk about. It's the whole like you can't let that can't be bottled up. You can't let that fester. But in point of fact, actually you can, because in an age of sentimentality, what we don't need is more people leading with the sort of full emotive expression on just about anything.
Yes. As I say to people sometimes, thank you for not expressing yourself. And,
yeah, perfect. Yes.
So I find, I mean, the idea of people gathering around to express their rage in general, because presumably they're all raging about something different, is ridiculous. And then you will set up a kind of arms race. Whoever expresses his rage the most violently, the most noisily, will be felt to have the most to be angry about.
Well, that's to me is the fun.
It promotes.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Insincerity and dishonesty. Insincerity and dishonesty, in my view.
Well, right. I mean, not to belabor the point, but it's just so entertaining. The idea, like, I got to go to my Scream Club Chicago meeting. We're going to go out to the lake and get and generate rage. I feel perfectly fine, but I'm going to go scream at the at Lake Michigan for no particular reason, but because my breathwork practitioner says I should.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's not that there's nothing to be angry about, of course, but there's always going to be things to be angry about. And you will find that expressing your anger, especially when in fact you're impotent to do anything about it, will only make yourself worse.
Mm. I wanted to just get your take on something else from a public policy perspective, just because of the about face that we've seen from Keir Starmer in the UK, which is, rather surprising given his political disposition. That is a move away from open borders and multiculturalism in the UK, a move that's being led by the Labour Party, Keir Starmer, right now. Because the opposite thing is happening in many quarters here, including remarkably from Karen Bass, who's the mayor of L.A., fresh off her management of the wildfires there. She is responding to ICE raids in the L.A. area, removing people in this country illegally, many of whom have violent criminal pasts. She's responding to that this way.
Because, you have people who don't want to leave their homes, who are not going to work, and they are in need of cash. It's a couple $100. I don't know the exact amount, and this should be available in about a week.
So she is going to provide cash, a couple $100, as she says, cash cards to people in this country illegally because they're afraid to come out of their homes to go to work, allegedly. I mean, is this sort of similar to the experience of Western Europe when they went full tilt before at least Keir Starmer is starting to rethink this based on public pressure?
Well, the first thing to say about Keir Starmer, he's like the white man in Westerns. He speaks with forked tongue. So I think that we shall have to see what he actually does.
Fair enough.
But in his case, because of course they're all capable of saying what is perfectly obvious to most people should be done without actually doing it, because we live in a kind of logocracy where words count more than deeds. But the numbers of people deported, say, from England or from France, are absolutely tiny by comparison with the number of people arriving. And one of the first things to do, of course, is to, as Confucius would say, would be to get the names right. So, for example, we have asylum seekers who are actually quite clearly just illegal immigrants. Their arrival in the country, the first thing they do in the country is commit a crime because they're not actually allowed entry. And then they claim so-called asylum, having passed through several countries where it would be perfectly safe for them to stay. So that's one thing. It's very important to get the language right, because if you don't get the language right, you can't think properly. But I don't think anybody in Britain or France is terrified of being removed from the country because, I know people don't, their fear is not proportional to the statistical risks, but the statistical risks of being deported from Britain or France are probably about as great as being killed in an airline flight. So even when you're found, you're practically never deported.
Well, so that's interesting, and it's a fair point. Talking about the disconnect between a politician's rhetoric and the actions taken, but even the rhetoric, does it signal? Forget the politicians for a second. Does it signal an awakening or a mind shift in the general public in the UK or France when it comes to open borders policies? You need that cultural shift first.
Yeah. I don't think there's a cultural shift. I think it's just the politicians are catching up with the population, which has long felt the same thing.
Okay.
And having just said that anger is a very bad thing, what they fear is actually the anger or the mounting anger of the population. For example, I went yesterday from the airport in Paris to the center of Paris, and on the way there were tents for illegal migrants, and my taxi driver, who himself was the son of Algerian migrants who almost certainly entered the country legally, actually, years ago, was absolutely horrified. So by this, he thought, well, why can't they do something about it? And this is the feeling. We pay enormous quantities of tax. In France, 50% of wages or earnings go in tax, and yet we have tents in the center of Paris.
Right.
So there's a mounting feeling of anger about this, the incompetence and stupidity of the administration.
And so that's my point. It's the old saying that politicians always enter at the back of the parade, not the front of the parade. After the crowd has formed, then they'll get in line, to follow the leader. But it signals something going on in Western Europe. And since you were maybe a generation ahead of us in terrible open borders policies that we're now retrenching, that maybe a retrenchment is in the offing in Western Europe as well.
Well, yes. Now there are border checks between several European countries that signed the Schengen Agreement, in which was to have open borders between European countries. But now there are going to be passport checks and so on, because each country is so afraid of illegal migrants coming into their neck of the woods. Yes, it's having an effect. Of course, it's very late. I was learning yesterday that 43% of children in schools under the age of 15 in Vienna are from the children of Muslim immigrants. 43%. So it's a bit late in the day to be doing something about it, but I suppose better late than never. However, when I say doing something about it, we have yet to see what is actually going to be done.
Theodore Dalrymple is contributing editor to City Journal, senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, and author of many great books, including Buried But Not Quite Dead, Forgotten Writers of Peter Lachey's. Theodore Dalrymple, thank you as always for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
They took everything. Our equipment, our supplies, it's all gone.
It's devastating. Every order is going to be delayed for months, and our customers are going to find someone else.
I don't know if we'll ever recover from this. We're already getting calls from clients checking on their orders.
Who knows how long it will take to get back on our feet? What were we thinking not upgrading our security?
Don't let a break-in devastate your business. Protect yourself with Goldilocks. They'll create a customized security solution for you. From commercial doors with keyless entry to 24/7 alarm monitoring, they have you covered. Learn more at GoldilocksInc.com and have a security technician conduct an on-site assessment of your business. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call Goldilocks now. 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicagoland's premier locksmith doors and security systems company since 1981.
Golf legend Jack Nicklaus, tennis star Rafael Nadal, and the late, great Kobe Bryant. What do they all have in common? They're all recipients of stem cell therapy, using your own body's healing properties to find relief from sports injuries and chronic joint pain. You can receive the same therapy at QC Kinetics in Naperville, Morton Grove, Oak Brook Terrace, Gurnee, and Crystal Lake. QC Kinetics, regenerative medicine. You've been hearing their ads on the station for 2 years. The response has been so exciting. So many AM 560 listeners are getting relief from chronic joint pain thanks to platelet-rich plasma and stem cell therapy from QC Kinetics. 92% of patients report satisfaction. Even Joe Rogan loves it. But these therapies are not just for sports stars and celebrities. They're also available to anyone who has chronic joint pain. If you're considering surgery, stop now and contact QC Kinetics. It doesn't cost anything for a second opinion. Weekend appointments are available. This could be life-changing. Call today to learn more and see if you're a candidate. Call 312-809-5955. Tell them Dan Proft sent you when you do. That number again, 312-809-5955. Again, 312-809-5955. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest-growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Mike Lindell and MyPillow employees want to thank my listeners for all your continued support. Mike has a passion to help get everyone the best sleep of their life. He didn't stop by creating the best pillow. He created the best bed sheets ever. Mike is offering the best deal on his Percale bed sheets. You can get a set for as low as $24.98. The MyPillow Percale sheets are breathable and have a cool, crisp feel. They have deep pockets to fit over any mattress. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you'll receive $100 in free digital gifts. Go to MyPillow.com now and use promo code LIBERTY to receive the MyPillow Percale sheets for as low as $24.98. Order now or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201, promo code LIBERTY.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions. With their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions, they have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $257. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:37, our weekly conversation with the wirepoints.org crew. Mark Lennon, the founder of wirepoints.org, joins us to talk about all things Illinois policy related, including Jelly Belly's school choice dilemma per the passage of the BBB. We'll start there at 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 72 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump is ramping up pressure on Russia to agree to a peace deal with Ukraine.
Donald Trump threatened very severe tariffs against Russia if there was no ceasefire deal in the next 50 days. He said they would be secondary tariffs at a rate of about 100%. Those tariffs are likely to be placed against countries that trade with Russia, the likes of China, India and Brazil, that buy discounted oil and gas from Moscow. And under the new agreement with NATO, the US will now offer weapons to Ukraine that NATO members will buy and then pass on to Kyiv. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
The Supreme Court is allowing the Trump administration to resume layoffs at the Department of Education.
U.S. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon is pleased at Monday's ruling.
This is a real victory, I think, for the future of American education.
McMahon said not being able to fire department personnel was a roadblock to the White House goal of returning education back to the states and out of the hands of the federal government. The court ruled 6-3 to lift a judge's order that reinstated employees let go in mass layoffs. I'm Brian Shook.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
If you've ever wanted to meet Larry Elder, Hugh Hewitt, Mike Gallagher, or Charlie Kirk, now's your chance. It's AM 560's Terrific Talkers VIP Experience Contest. Enter today for a chance to meet your favorite host and sit in on a live broadcast. The grand prize includes airfare and 3 nights of accommodations. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/VIP. That's 560theanswer.com/VIP.
It's Reveille. With July 4th having just passed, now's a good time to reflect on our independence from tyranny. The Cato Institute ranks the United States 17th, tied with Lithuania and the United Kingdom, among countries for human freedom in their most recent worldwide report. In their state survey from 2023, Illinois ranked 39th overall, measuring both economic and personal freedom in a number of categories. There's another type of independence, though, Illinoisans should take stock of, and it's different than just measuring alcohol and tobacco laws or the regulatory environment. Independence should also account for fairness. In Illinois, however, picking winners and losers is a game, and it used to mean politicians deciding who gets a subsidy for their crony company. Now it means who doesn't have to pay legitimate fines based on economic status. As Fox 32 reported, a program designed to allow low-income Chicago residents to have their traffic fees waived has been made permanent with a new law. Under the program, eligible fees, fines, and costs due to traffic violations are waived in Cook County for people experiencing financial hardship. County judges determine who is granted that fee waiver. The program was established in 2021 with a sunset of 2024, but lawmakers voted to make the program permanent, and Governor Pritzker signed the bill into law last week. The Chicago lawmaker that sponsored the bill, Senator Cervantes, said, "We do not believe someone should be forced into homelessness because they can't afford to pay a speeding ticket." Setting aside the nonsense that a $100 speeding ticket leads to homelessness, the point is that in Illinois, some people have to play by the rules and others just don't. And that unfairness is legislated as if proper. A government that does this represents tyranny, not freedom, and promotes dependency, not independence and responsibility. I'm Jeannie Ives. Join me Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call now at 800-533-6605 for a free consultation. For 17 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and a Christian-owned company. Don't get stuck in the endless cycle of payments. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Christian-owned Total Financial Freedom now at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605. 800-533-6605.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Discover more at Viking.com.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, it's about 17 minutes. Outbound is about 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, about 28 minutes. Outbound, about 24 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from about Wolf to the old post office, about 28 minutes. We do have an accident that's working about around Wolf Road that is causing you a bit of slowdowns. This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscriptions ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio for an extra 5% off. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be hot with a mix of sun and clouds, possibly a thunderstorm later this afternoon. Expect a high of 92. Tonight, there may be isolated thunderstorms early, then mainly clear, warm, and humid with a low of 74. Tomorrow will be hot and humid with a blend of clouds and sunshine. A few thunderstorms likely in the afternoon. Look for a high of 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when you're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and that theme music means it's time for our weekly conversation with the wirepoints.org guys. Mark Lennon this week. Before we get to that, before we get to Mark, interesting provision in the BBB, something we talked about in the run-up before it was passed, is the tax credit provision for K through 12 scholarships. And I don't know that we've gotten into it, but there was a provision in the big, beautiful bill that provides for a dollar-for-dollar tax credit for individual taxpayers who donate up to $1,700 annually to scholarship granting organizations, designated scholarship granting organization, which give money to students to cover private school tuition and other education expenses. So that would be, here in Illinois, Empower Illinois is a scholarship granting organization. I assume the Daniel Murphy Foundation is a scholarship granting organization for the purposes of this tax credit. But a bit of a wrinkle that puts Dems in a bit of a trick bag, especially as we were talking about with Theodore Dalrymple, the fork-tongued varietal of Dems, and frankly, is there any other kind? What happened in the process is the Senate parliamentarian ruled that making the provision mandatory nationwide violated the Byrd Rule. The Byrd Rule that governs reconciliation, that has to be budget related, impact revenue or spending. So it was stripped out. So it's still there, but states have to opt in. So this puts school choice to the test on a state-by-state basis where you don't otherwise have school choice, like, say, Illinois. And don't forget what happened to our tax credit scholarship program here. Jelly Belly was against it. Then he was for it right before the 2022 gubernatorial election. And then he had House Speaker Chris Welch kill it after that election in the subsequent legislative session. It's very interesting because his newly minted mascot / running mate, Christian Mitchell, has a very similar story. When Christian, and it's funny too, because it's such a tell about how, well, it's just a tell about Illinois politics. And I posted this during my vacation, but I'll bring it in now that we've got this interesting dynamic with the opt-in provision for school choice in Illinois. And this is going to be something that should be an election issue this cycle, at the state level, statewide candidates as well as legislative candidates, because it's an opt-in decision. And for all those who on again, off again, pretend to be for school choice, but really do the bidding of the teachers' unions, there's another moment of truth that has been presented. Christian Mitchell, who was a state legislator before he became deputy governor, before he filled the vestigial Michelle Obama post at the University of Chicago, before he became Governor Jelly Belly's LG running mate this campaign cycle. He came in, young community organizer. He's got good academic credentials, University of Chicago undergrad. Shows up on the political scene talking the new Democrat rap. Have you ever heard this story before? Sounds positively Obama-esque, doesn't it? Joe Biden might have called Christian Mitchell articulate, bright, and clean back in the day. What did Mitchell do when he arrived on the scene? He wooed guilt-ridden, honky billionaires looking for a mascot of color themselves, like Lester Crown and family, who used its ironically entitled and laughably inept vehicles like the quote-unquote We Mean Business PAC and Stand for Our Children Illinois PAC to funnel campaign cash to Mitchell. These were dilettante billionaires dabbling in politics, thinking that you have to be run by the left. You can't ally with actual school choice conservative reformers, pro-school choice conservative reformers. No, heavens no. You hire Madigan staffers to run these PACs and to funnel money to flim-flammers like Christian Mitchell. By the way, when he took all that money, Stand for Children, We Mean Business, yeah, right, PACs, Chicago Teachers Union, Karen Lewis lit him up. There's a press release I posted from the Chicago Teachers Union back in the day, the Crown Prince, talking about Christian Mitchell's donations from the Crown family. But don't worry, Christian Mitchell would sell them out. And he did, because he recognized that his political ascent would be much less steep if he simply sacrificed the futures of black and brown children in Chicago in service of his own, and that's what he did. So Jelly Belly Pritzker did too. So no more rhetorical support for charter schools. And in fact, Christian Mitchell opposed the tax credit scholarship program that was signed into law by Rauner. That, of course, disproportionately benefited minority kids
from low-income households, including in the district he represented when he was in the General Assembly, but no matter, like so many of them. And so now he's earned another promotion. And what's another couple years, maybe 4 years of, cleaning up after Pritzker so that he can get backed for statewide office or a federal office, just like Juliana Stratton, the LG running for Senate, is being backed by Pritzker. So Pritzker and Mitchell Mitchell was for school choice before he was against it. Pritzker was against school choice before he was for it, before he was against it. Now where will we find themselves? Will we find them, and will they find themselves in 2026? For more on this, Mark Lennon, founder and executive editor of WirePoints.org, joins us. Mark, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Dan. Good morning.
It's an opportunity to revisit it, sort of what we couldn't sustain at the General Assembly level. We have another bite at the apple, as it were, thanks to this opt-in provision in the big, beautiful bill.
Yep. Put up, Governor. Let's see what you got. Of course, this is overwhelmingly popular with the public, too, like on so many issues where Pritzker is out of touch with the people even of Illinois, not just the nation. And we'll see what he does here. I wouldn't be surprised if he flip-flops again, but so far his record is to kowtow to the Chicago Teachers Union and the other teachers' unions.
Right. Stacey Davis Gates, the person who is in charge of your kids, as she so declared at the City Club the other week. It is quite interesting because you have Pritzker, trying to position himself against a field that includes other governors in places like Kentucky and Maryland and California Pennsylvania that are also going to have this choice.
Yep, and there's an increasing split between Pritzker and many of these other Democrats. It's not just this issue. Nebraska, for example, with a Democratic Governor Pillen, just signed a legislation banning companies linked from the Chinese Communist Party from getting any money in Nebraska. Pritzker, of course, seems to be infatuated with those companies and throws the money at them, with Goshen being the most conspicuous example. He's just out of touch with the public on so many issues.
Well, and also we saw recently, too, the typical headline and to use for his claims about bringing business. He's out there bringing business to Illinois. But he's bringing business to Illinois at a huge cost to taxpayers. And this lithium battery plant, Pure Lithium, is the latest example of that.
Yeah, Pure Lithium, of course, that gets lots of headlines, unquestioned. 50 jobs only, tiny fraction in a state with 12.8 million people. But we had to pay $4.4 million bribe to get them here. It comes to about $5,000 per job. That's very much on the high end of incentives that are paid by the states that play this game of bribery for bringing in jobs. But it's just another example. It's nice to have those Pure Lithium jobs here, but geez, for that kind of money, that's not telling us very much, and 50 jobs isn't much at all.
I'm always looking for good news in Illinois. It's often difficult to find. But I did see this, that some of these suburban communities that...
And you faded out on me, I'm sorry.
Can you hear me? Mark? Did we lose?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dan. You faded out on me.
Okay. You got me now? Mark?
Try again. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm always looking for...
you there?
Okay, we obviously have a problem with Mark's line. All right, let's take a break and try Mark back.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The Dinesh D'Souza Podcast, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
Probably heard, but you don't have to take your shoes off anymore when you go to the airport. This really shows you how stupid government bureaucracy is. One guy takes off his shoes, everybody freaks out, and then for 20 years, all the airlines across the country make tens of millions of people actually pull their shoes off.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, I think we have Mark Lennon from wirepoints.org back. Mark, you with us?
I am, Dan.
All right. So I was just saying before we had that little communication mishap that you're always looking for positive things occurring in Chicagoland and Illinois. It's sometimes difficult to identify. I wonder if we move to the leafy suburbs, what do we see from, say, commercial real estate in the leafy suburbs as compared to the city? And what do we see actually from some of these suburban governments as compared to city government? Do we see anything positive? I noted one story that indicated that some of these suburbs were getting off of the crack of the red light camera revenue. They were moving away from that because, of course, it was all about backdooring taxpayers with what you couldn't get through the front door. It was never about public safety or road safety. But anyway, on those sorts of things, the way some local units of government in the suburbs are performing vis-a-vis the city, the way that commercial real estate and the business climate is in the suburbs vis-a-vis the city, are we seeing any positive movement?
Well, on your first question, the real estate situation is becoming very critical there. Crane's just had an article up showing record high empty office buildings in the suburbs. Now, that's just catastrophic for suburbs because they get so much property tax revenue typically from those buildings, and the only ones that are staying occupied are the very new ones with the most modern amenities. They have to be waking up and responding to this. They have no choice. So we've seen things like that back off on the red light cameras. But boy, from what I've seen from a former suburbanite, I just downsized and moved out of a suburb. The trend is still to the left. They have a lot of people moving in from California, even. Anecdotally, I've seen a surge of people coming from the LA area, for example, into the area, and the brokers confirm that for me, even from New York.
Like into the into the city or to the North Shore, or where?
Both. And I and on my home that I sold recently, we had offer sight unseen from California, that's people are, the people on the left are fed up with some of those blue states, and they see Illinois as a bargain real estate wise. They still do, and so quite a few of them are fleeing here. I think you'll see those trends reflected in numbers eventually, but anecdotally, it's just very, very strong.
So with respect to home prices, because I keep hearing this about in some of these upper income suburbs that home prices are pretty good. People still feel like they're getting return on investment. Is that a mirage, or is that just something that is happening now because of some of the externalities created by policies in other states? But ultimately, the underlying problem is the property tax levels in Illinois, and it's going to catch. The math is inexorable. It's going to catch you.
That's all true. Supply and demand is a tricky thing with housing prices, but it is true that these suburbs are very strong price-wise, multiple offers, homes selling very quickly in the stronger suburbs. And underlying that, however, is simply a shortage of new housing coming online. And of course, that's being reflected especially in high rents in Chicago. And there's just nothing new coming online. And in the city, it remains very popular for young people moving in, and they're paying these very high prices. I took an apartment in Chicago. I saw it myself. And this is going to get worse, I'm afraid.
So you don't feel like there's a glut of, or not feel like, your assessment is there's not sort of a glut of condo buildings where you're and condo availabilities where you're seeing prices come down even in the city.
Condos are a little trickier, especially at the high end. They've had problems over the past couple of years, but it's the 2-bedroom kind of thing that with more modest prices where the difficulty is really growing. I think for the kind of people that had been a remaining strength of the city, that is young people moving into the city in Streeterville, for example, where I've taken an apartment. It's getting very, very tight.
Mark Lennon, founder, executive editor of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Mark Lennon, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
Andy joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just 1 light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. Or simply visit godra.com.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:08, President Trump sending patriots to the Ukrainians and threatening Putin with tariffs if the war doesn't end in 50 days. You're on a 50-day clock, says President Trump. We'll discuss with Cliff May of FDD at 8:08. It is now 8 o'clock, AM 560, WIND, Chicago.
Inflation creeps back up. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
So month over month, we came in line with expectations, a jump of 0.3%.
That's Fox Business Network Cheryl Casoni on the Consumer Price Index that also showed a year-over-year increase.
That came in 2.7%. That is above expectations.
It's also higher than May's annual inflation rate of 2.4%. And here's something good that could soon cost more in grocery stores.
The U.S. is putting a 17% duty on fresh Mexican tomatoes after negotiations ended without a deal to avoid the
target tariff.
Fox's Hillary Barsky.
Currently, Mexico supplies around 70% of the U.S. tomato market, which is up 30% from 2 decades ago.
Ahead of this morning's report on the slight consumer price increase, President Trump said,
the economy is roaring, business confidence is soaring, incomes are up, prices are down, and inflation is dead.
He keeps urging the Federal Reserve to make big interest rate cuts. The president will hit the road this afternoon for an innovation summit with dozens of CEOs.
President Trump and the world's top leaders in energy and artificial intelligence meeting at Pittsburgh's Carnegie Mellon University, highlighting Pennsylvania's potential to lead the AI revolution. The president also joined by the state's new U.S. Senator, Republican Dave McCormick, who says the goal is to harness Pennsylvania's natural resources and workforce to jumpstart the economy and support national security.
Fox's Jeff Manasso. As Republicans keep investigating President Biden's mental fitness in office and if his staff covered up a decline, there's an increased focus on the use of an auto pen putting the Biden signature on documents. GOP Senator Rand Paul tells Fox Business he's concerned the White House chief of staff reportedly authorized the auto pen to issue presidential pardons, including a preemptive one to shield former COVID advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci.
The only way we could actually get this into court is hopefully the DOJ would do their job, indict Anthony Fauci for the felony of lying to Congress, and then take it to court.
Fauci denies that. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 76 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 The Answer newsroom, I'm Nikki Whaley. The search continues for a missing at-risk Chicago woman. The family of Felicia Bates says she's in desperate need of her medication.
She's in a need of her medication. She's a diabetic, and she has a significant medicine that she needs at this time. She has not had her medicine in over a week.
The 49-year-old woman was last seen near a CTA bus stop on the south side earlier this month. Bates was last spotted wearing a burgundy top, capri blue jeans, and blue gym shoes with pink around them. Anyone with any information on her whereabouts is urged to contact the Chicago Police Department. An air quality alert is in effect today in Chicagoland. The National Weather Service says an air pollution action day has been declared for the Chicago area today. This happens when weather conditions can potentially cause health problems for certain groups of people. Active children and people with pulmonary or respiratory diseases should limit prolonged outdoor activity. The woman convicted in the 2007 killing of former Chicago Bears Sean Gale's pregnant girlfriend will have to wait even longer for her chance to receive a retrial. A Lake County judge postponed a planned hearing yesterday for Maureen Yang after prosecutors claimed her attorney, Judd Stone, introduced evidence he hadn't previously turned over. The judge has scheduled a status hearing in the case for August the 18th. News is a service of Air Right Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off of any service, including inspections. Don't wait for a heat wave for that old air conditioner to break down. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Big bank earnings are generally upbeat. J.P. Morgan Chase reported earnings and revenue that topped expectations. CEO Jamie Dimon says the U.S. economy remained resilient in the quarter. He says the finalization of tax reform and potential deregulation are positive for the economic outlook, though significant risks persist, including from tariffs, trade uncertainty, and worsening geopolitical conditions, along with high fiscal deficits and high stock prices. Wells Fargo shares are lower, though its earnings and revenue topped expectations. Wall Street was expecting it to bring in more interest income. Shares of AI chipmaker NVIDIA are up 5%. The company says it will be allowed to resume sales to China. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola, invested in you.
Hugh Hewitt reflects on a great month for the country.
June was one of the most amazing months of my life in terms of the good guys winning everywhere. We're going to count the first 3 days of July if we can get the one big, beautiful bill. But we haven't had a month like this. In a very long time, not since maybe the Soviet Union fell apart and the Berlin Wall fell down in '89.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, it's Sean Thompson here for Level 10 Coating. You've been hearing the ads on AM 560 for months. Listeners love the product. Shiny new garage floors. And here's the thing. If you grow up in Chicago, you know a garage isn't just for parking cars. It's a sanctuary for yourself. Sometimes you could throw a kid's party there. Sometimes you can watch a game with your friends. But it doesn't have to be a cracked, dry, ugly cement floor with all dust on it. It can be a product you love. That's what Level 10 Coating delivers. Level 10 Coatings makes it someplace you'll want to be all the time. Level 10 Coatings, you can call now for a free quote at 855-510-2628. The number again, 855-510-2628. It's not just garage floors either. It's anywhere you want to make the cement feel more than cement at level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com.
Big or small, we coat them all. Level 10 Coatings, your custom concrete coating solution.
Remember mixtapes?
Mixtape? Can you buy that at the hardware store?
It's not that kind of tape.
To make a mixtape, you would dub all your favorite songs onto one cassette.
Oh, I was more of an 8-track guy myself.
You know, the new Marshfield 7000 Sulfa at Penny Mustard reminds me of the world's greatest mixtape.
We have taken the latest and greatest components of every Penny Mustard configurable sofa and mixed them all together into one.
The Marshfield 7000 is the ultimate sofa.
It's absolutely stunning.
And the comfort level is off the charts.
I definitely see this sofa going all the way to number 1.
It's kind of like a greatest hits album, except you can sit on it.
The Marshfield 7000 Sofa, made in Wisconsin with a solid wood frame and hundreds of fabric and leather options, starting at just $21.26 at Penny Mustard.
7 locations throughout Chicagoland.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
Allie Dwyer and her 3 sons lost their hero, Stephen. Serving our country in the United States Army was Stephen's calling, and flying helicopters was his passion. Stephen was killed in a Black Hawk helicopter crash over the Mediterranean Sea. Thanks to friends like you, Tunnel to Towers provided his family with a mortgage-free home, giving them security and hope in their darkest hours. Help more families like the Dwyers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions, like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 16 minutes. Outbound, 16 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 27 minutes. Outbound, 26 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 39 minutes. Outbound, 29 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 40 minutes. Outbound is going to be about 28 minutes. Traffic is a service of Turnkey. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. For a limited time, Turnkey's offering all new customers their first month of service free, including Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, data backup, plus 24/7 help desk support. Visit turnkey.pro today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be hot with a mix of sun and clouds. Expect a thunderstorm in the area later this afternoon with a high of 92. Tonight there may be a thunderstorm in spots early, then mainly clear, warm, and humid with a low of 74. Tomorrow will be hot and humid with a blend of clouds and sunshine, along with a few afternoon thunderstorms. The high will reach 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Catarina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. President Trump promising to send new Patriot missile defense systems to Ukraine and letting the world know that the EU will be paying for it.
I haven't agreed on the number yet, but they're going to have some because they do need protection. But the European Union is paying for it. We're not paying anything for it, but we will send it. It'll be business for us, and we will send them Patriots, which they desperately need, because Putin is really surprised a lot of people. He talks nice, and then he bombs everybody in the evening. So there's a little bit of a problem there, and I don't like it.
I don't like it. And sitting with NATO Secretary General yesterday, he had this ultimatum, frankly, to the Russians and their KGB dictator. You got 50 days.
We are very unhappy, I am, with Russia, but we'll discuss that maybe a different day. But we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means. But today we're going to talk about something else. And as you know, we've spent $350 billion approximately on this war with Russia and Ukraine, and would like to see it end. It wasn't my war, it was Biden's war. It's not my war. I'm trying to get you out of it. And we want to see it end. And I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is. That can be more simple.
So essentially Putin has to Labor Day. What will this change in policy from the Trump administration mean for the Ukrainians? For more on this, please be joined by Cliff May, president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies and foreign affairs columnist for the Washington Times. Cliff, thanks for being with us.
Dan, always good to be with you.
So, is this something that will sustain these Patriot missile systems, assuming they arrive with all due speed? Is this something that will sustain the Ukrainians' fight? I know they had a statehood celebration, and and Zelensky is talking the talk, but the assessments seem to be coming in more and more anxious about the prospect that the Ukrainians can hold Putin out of Kyiv for much longer.
Well, first of all, my view is the president's made a very good decision. You and I have talked about this going back months. This was what I was hoping, that the president would come to this conclusion, would understand who Vladimir Putin is, that Putin is not somebody who wants to make peace. He's not somebody willing to compromise. He wants to subjugate the Ukrainians. He wants to make Ukraine into a vassal state like Belarus is, or a colony like Chechnya and Tatarstan are, and that you're not going to. He says nice things, but he's killing women and children every day. It's a terrorist war. He is targeting and has been targeting residential neighborhoods, hospitals, schools, all of that. So this is important. First of all, the Patriot missiles give the Ukrainians a chance to knock death out of the skies before it reaches them. Very, very necessary. The sanctions we're talking about, the secondary sanctions, will begin to cut off the funding that Putin needs to continue this war. And one thing that was left, I would say, slightly ambiguous, is whether Ukraine will also be getting long-range missiles and permission to utilize them to hit military targets deep inside Russia. Biden never allowed that. I think it's necessary to inflict that kind of pain on Putin so that he eventually says, all right, I'll agree to a ceasefire. But what Trump has been saying for a long time is, look, you conquered about 20% of Ukrainian territory, the east parts of this, a lot of the south. You got a land bridge to Crimea, which you took from Ukraine and annexed in 2014. Why don't you be satisfied with that, and we'll just stop at this point? And Putin would say, yeah, maybe, let me think about that. I don't know. I've got some concerns. I think at this point, Trump understands he was not going to stop. The Ukrainians are not going to give up their freedom, their independence, their sovereignty, their culture, their language. Even if it came down to a total occupation, it would be a guerrilla war. But that would be very bloody. It's very bloody right now.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I'll stop there for now. But but Trump is giving the Ukrainians a fighting chance, and I hope he does even a little more. It's certainly what people like me have been pushing for a very long time, and I'm very pleased that Trump recognized the reality of the situation.
Are you concerned about escalation? I note that the timing of this is Putin on his way to Beijing for another meeting with Xi and his people, and I just wonder if he is, working a side deal with the Chinese communists to provide some backstop with respect to whatever may come from the U.S.
Yeah, he has had all along support from the Chinese communists, technological support, economic support, the oil that is being sold. That's why President Trump is talking about secondary sanctions. Secondary sanctions mean the sanctions are not on Russia; they're on those who buy oil from Russia. That's mostly China and India, and that's who would be sanctioned in order to stop that trade, in order to cut off the financing from Russia's trading partners who are funding this war. In addition, of course, he is also, but Putin now has been getting support from Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in Tehran, Shahid missiles, and there's a missile factory they helped him build as well. He's also been getting a huge amount of support from North Korea. Most infamously, of course, Korean soldiers who come and fight for Russia and against Ukraine, but probably more significantly, munitions, artillery shells in particular, huge numbers. More artillery shells have been sent from North Korea to Russia than the U.S. manufactures in a year. And this is also part of what's important here for the U.S. As we sell Patriot missiles, as we sell other kinds of missiles and other kinds of munitions, with NATO picking up the bill as they should, we can expand our defense industrial base, which has become very weakened, very small, very sclerotic over the years. We need a much bigger industrial base. And that, by the way, this is not the main thing, but it's an important thing. That means skilled workers in jobs, American factories, turning this out for people, for those countries we think should have them, and not for those countries we don't. And we make the best weaponry in the world, and that's important for us, and that's important for our allies, and it's important that our enemies know. But the main point I want to make to you is all along, we are fighting, the Ukrainians are fighting Russia backed by North Korea, Chinese communists, and the Islamists of Tehran. That's the axis. Got to recognize that's what's going on. I believe we should have allies. Our allies shouldn't be dependents. Our allies should be partners. The Ukrainians are doing severe damage to our number 2 adversary in the world, and that's Vladimir Putin.
It's interesting that some of those people that wear the Ukrainian lapel pins and post the Ukrainian flag and otherwise support Ukraine in their effort to repel the Russian incursion don't feel the same way about Israel, that I would argue is doing similar work towards in response to our enemies like Iran and its proxies and so forth. I wanted to.
Yes, by the way, you're quite right. There's a principle at work here, and it should apply equally when we have enemies fighting common. When we have allies willing and able to fight common enemies, it makes sense to support them.
Yeah, that
especially if they're saying you don't need to send your troops, but we would like to buy your weapons, and we do want to fight those enemies. We do want to see Putin reduced in stature as a military power for all kinds of reasons, which I think should be obvious, but I'm happy to go into. And you're absolutely right. The same principle applies in both cases.
But I mean, yeah, right. So that seems, what you said seems fairly straightforward, but turns out not to be on the left. And frankly, some of the more conspiratorial on the right with respect to Israel. I wanted to play this clip. I mean, I know that this is not someone who is renowned as a geopolitical thinker, except in his role as Saul on Homeland, which doesn't count. Mandy Patinkin, though, because he gave a very theatrical challenge to Jews worldwide. And this is the sort of emotional appeal that you have being made in, sort of elite circles like the arts. And so it's interesting. He goes full Inigo Montoya here in his in his cri de coeur against Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government. Take a listen and get your reaction.
I was in Philadelphia getting ready to do a concert with Patty, my dear friend Patty LaPone. And then I go up to the hotel room. Catherine was in the hotel room. And the movie, The Princess Bride, was on. She was watching it. And just as I walked in the room is that final scene in the movie where Inigo is sitting by the window with the man in black. And the man in black asks Inigo, would he like to be the next Dread Pirate Robertson? And the Inigo Montoya actor, who was me,
I remember,
at 36 years old, I think, it was 1986, do the math, I was born in 52,
34.
said these words, which I did not really know what they meant, that William Goldman wrote, which I think are the singular greatest words I've ever read. And those words are, were, and always will be. You know, I have been in the revenge business so long. Now that it's over, I do not know what to do with the rest of my life. And I ask Jews all over the world to consider what this man, Benjamin Netanyahu, and his right-wing government is doing to the Jewish people all over the world. They are endangering not only the state of Israel, which I care deeply about and want to exist, but they are endangering the Jewish population all over the world. He is the most dangerous thing, not just since October 7th. It has been a deeply troubled situation.
And endangering the Jews by endangering those in Gaza.
And to watch what is happening for the Jewish people, to allow this to happen to children and civilians of all ages in Gaza, for whatever reason, is unconscionable and unthinkable. And I ask you Jews everywhere, all over the world, to spend some time alone and think, is this acceptable and sustainable? How could it be done to you and your ancestors, and you turn around and you do it to someone else?
Well, I'm not Jewish, but I will note, by the way, I mean, since he just made essentially a overt insinuation to the Holocaust in comparison, Israel's Defense Army issued an urgent warning to all civilians still inside Gaza City and other neighborhoods to evacuate as fighting intensifies in Gaza, which is consistent with what the IDF does all of the time with respect to fighting and trying to minimize civilian casualties. So, I mean, the false equivalences of really hysterical assertions of the left, as I think nicely encapsulated there by Mandy Patinkin.
Yes, you're quite right. I mean, I don't know how to explain it except to talk about the woke mind virus that seems to have infected him. Does he not know that after the October 7, 2023 invasion of Israel by Hamas and by a lot of Hamas-adjacent Gazans, the massacre, the terrible rapes, the beheading of children, the burning of families, the taking of hostages. There are still hostages. Gazans could have a ceasefire today. They could have had a ceasefire on any day since October 7th. All they would need to imagine that they would say, that Hamas would say through their friends in Qatar or whatever, or Egypt or whatever, we will release every hostage. We just insist upon a ceasefire, not peace, a ceasefire. You'd think the Israelis would say no. the Israelis would say yes. In the meantime, yes, the Israelis are trying to defeat Hamas rather than the alternative, which is to let Hamas rebuild and do what it's done before. Again, steal babies, kill women, all of the above. What does Mandy Patinkin really think, if he thinks at all? He's a good actor. I don't know that he thinks. He recites other people's lines. What does he think the Israelis should do about Hamas, or what they should have done about Hamas all this time? Hamas is genocidal as relates to Israel. That's in their charter. It has always been. They have told the Gazans, you have a choice. We either have victory or you become a martyr. You are to die for this cause. I believe there are many Gazans who don't want to die for Hamas. It doesn't mean they love Israel, but I think at this point they may realize, look at the suffering Hamas has brought upon us, and in exchange for what? But to leave Hamas in power and let them rearm again? But he doesn't address that. He just says, Benjamin Netanyahu, oh, he's so terrible. Oh, what is he doing? How do you defend yourself if not in any other way? Or should they not defend themselves? Should the Israelis simply allow themselves to be slaughtered as Jews were slaughtered by the Nazis, who also were genocidal in World War II because the Jews then had no weapons, had no ability to defend themselves. The point of Israel is Jews defending themselves.
Slaughtered on October 7th. I mean, by this very terrorist organization and in concert with its sponsors. I mean, it's the false premise that this is some sort of avengement going on by the Netanyahu government. And the alternative seems to me, as you were pointing out, it's the appeasement that created this situation that provided for Hamas to plan and execute the horrific terrorist attack that they executed on October 7th. But I mean, that's sort of the left's posture is always, as we saw this illustrated in Biden, in the Joe Biden terms. This is sort of appeasement. It's the idea. It's thinking that terrorists are just friends we haven't made yet, and so forth. It's just the magical thinking.
Yes, right, and that they have grievances, and we can address those grievances. Let's give them a Palestinian state. Gaza was essentially a Palestinian state. The Israelis didn't interfere in Gaza. That's why they didn't know, great failure, what was going on there. The billions of dollars spent on this subterranean fortress into which the hostages were dragged, and with this fortress which protected Hamas while the Gazans had to walk above with no bomb shelters, no place to go, because they were to be used as human shields. Because Hamas read the left properly, read the UN properly, read the leftist media and the faux human rights organizations properly. They knew the more Gazans that died, it wouldn't be bad for Hamas, it would be bad for Israel. So the more, the merrier from Hamas's point of view. That is how it's always been.
Cliff May.
I know, yeah.
Cliff May, president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, foreign affairs columnist for the Washington Times. Cliff May, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
You too. And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available. Financing is flexible. And at Air Right, installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job, really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
Sponsored by AxeCap Ventures. America, listen up. Gold prices are breaking records. With inflation raging and central banks hoarding, every American should own gold. And like President Trump said, whoever holds the gold makes the rules. AxeCap Ventures owns one of Nevada's largest undeveloped gold deposits and trades for pennies on the dollar. This could be your way to ride the gold boom. AxeCap trades under GARLF on the OTC. Visit axecapventures.ca today.
Rick Borick talks about the risk of being in the stock market right near retirement.
It's easy to drive around with no seatbelt on if you never think you're going to have an accident, right? And you go, well, it's never going to go down. I don't need protection for my portfolio. We're a big fan of getting those gains, but we're also a bigger fan of not taking huge losses.
Unleash your wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Your manufacturing production is only as good as your manufacturing team.
Monarch makes you better, plain and simple. They do an excellent job at recruiting the right people, qualified, experienced, top talent that improve productivity.
Monarch Technical Services has been leading the Chicago staffing industry for manufacturing and engineering since 1987.
Their vetting process is bang on, and their payment terms show just how dedicated to helping they are. You have 6 months to pay the finder's fee, and if for any reason the candidate leaves, the fee ends. Simple.
Monarch's payment terms allow you to make sure employees fit in before fees are paid in full. It's a working partnership that works.
If you're growing your manufacturing team, trust me, call Monarch Technical Services.
Monarch meets every candidate in person to interview and test for specific skills and assesses experience by using blueprint, shop math, part measurement, and CNC program exams. Call 847-342-1221. That's 847-342-1221. Or visit monarchtechnical.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan Proft here, by the way. Mandy Patinkin, another in the long-running pantheon of people who are impresarios in one space and buffoons in another. Great actor, not a great geopolitical thinker. Coming up at 8:38, someone who has covered the Secret Service for many years, better than anyone, who knows where all the bodies are buried and the failures exist. Susan Crabtree joins us to talk about the Secret Service and accountability for Butler 1 year after Butler. Has there been any? 8:38, now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 76 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Former President Biden is defending his use of an auto pen.
Biden says he made every decision on his own in comments from an interview with the New York Times. During his final weeks as president, Biden granted clemency and pardoned over 1,500 people. The Times reports Biden didn't individually approve each name for the categorical pardons that applied to large numbers of people. It comes after President Trump directed Attorney General Pam Bondi in June to investigate the use of AutoPen by Biden and to see if it was connected with a decline in his mental state. I'm Mark Mayfield.
President Trump's DOGE-related spending cuts are being debated in the Republican-controlled Senate this week.
The White House used a rarely used procedure that recommends Congress take back spending it has already approved. The House approved the billions of dollars in cuts by a narrow vote in June. The over $9 billion in reductions targets mostly foreign aid, but also funding for public broadcasting. The bill cannot be filibustered. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
The number of young children accidentally ingesting nicotine is way up. A new study in the journal Pediatrics says since 2020, there's been 736% increase in young kids ingesting nicotine pouches like Zen. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
If you've ever wanted to meet Larry Elder, Hugh Hewitt, Mike Gallagher, or Charlie Kirk, now's your chance. It's AM 560's Terrific Talkers VIP Experience Contest. Enter today for a chance to meet your favorite host and sit in on a live broadcast. The grand prize includes airfare and 3 nights of accommodations. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/VIP. That's 560theanswer.com/VIP.
We couldn't decide if we needed in-home care for Dad.
Right. Just some help here and there with bathing, organizing his meds, a walk through the neighborhood.
Oh, exactly. But everywhere we looked, we had a 4-hour minimum. It was more care than he needed. And it didn't make sense to spend extra for it.
Then we found Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. No minimum hours. We were shocked.
Now a caregiver stops by once or twice a week for just an hour or two to help with the small things that make a big difference.
And Mom loves the visits. It's not just help. It's companionship.
At Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, we understand that not every family needs round-the-clock care. We serve DuPage, Cook, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. We conduct free in-home assessments and we guarantee compatibility. Call Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest today at 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
Virago is fending off viruses and making America healthy again.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. I'm one of the co-founders of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Here are some of the testimonials of Virago users.
Hello, my name is Jim Thompson. I started taking Virago about 1.5 years ago. I was diagnosed with a heart condition, and in fact I was at the Cleveland Clinic applying for one of their trials. The bad news is that I was not accepted for the trial. The good news is that my heart was healthier than they wanted, and I believe that's a result of taking Virago. I can also attest that I have not had the flu or COVID since I started taking Virago. I could definitely attest to my satisfaction with staying healthy by taking Virago every day.
Boost your immune system with Virago. Order your bottle today. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com.
And use promo code IMMUNE to get 30% off.
That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $257. There are only 2 good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, Sundays, noon to 1. Learn more online at mwmfinancial.tax.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 16 minutes. Outbound, 16 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 27 minutes. Outbound, 26 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 39 minutes. Outbound, 29 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 40 minutes. Outbound is going to be about 28 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 20 minutes. Outbound is about 11 minutes. This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Kyle started Blindster in 2010 to make quality, custom-made blinds affordable to everyone. Traditional window covering retailers are expensive. Blindster prices are low, and their blinds are guaranteed to fit. Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be hot with a mix of sun and clouds, possibly a thunderstorm later this afternoon. Expect a high of 92. Tonight, there may be isolated thunderstorms early, then mainly clear, warm, and humid with a low of 74. Tomorrow will be hot and humid with a blend of clouds and sunshine. A few thunderstorms likely in the afternoon. Look for a high of 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Let's go back into the vault. Take you back to July of last year, about 3 weeks after the failed assassination attempt against President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. 3 weeks after that, we had testimony from Acting Director Ron Rowe. He was before Senate committee on the topic. And this exchange between Ron Rowe and Josh Hawley, in which you got the classic sort of everyone's responsible, so no one's responsible, cover your ass play by Ron Rowe on behalf of his agency and his fellow agents. That was said I want you to listen to what was said 3 weeks ago so we can take stock of where we are now a year removed.
So, Senator, when we post up, our methodology is to look at things that can see in on our protectees so that they can provide that coverage.
But why is there not a Secret Service counter sniper there with clear line of sight? That roof has a clear line of sight to the former president. Why didn't you put a Secret Service counter sniper there?
The Secret Service's counter sniper role is to neutralize those threats that are looking in on us from where the protectee is, not necessarily
you think maybe you might want to revise that protocol in light of what happened here?
They were protecting the principal, and I think the
principal got shot.
I understand that, sir.
So do you think you might want to revise the protocol? Let me ask you this. Who was the lead site agent who made the decision to leave the AGR building completely outside of the security perimeter? Who was that?
Senator, I cannot give you that name. This person is operational. They're still doing investigations. They're still doing protective visits.
Have they been relieved of duty?
Senator, they have not been relieved of duty.
I know their name, by the way. Why have they not been relieved of duty?
They are still cooperating, not only being interviewed by the FBI, but also by our Office of Professional Responsibility. And we will let the facts of the mission assurance and any further investigations play out.
Isn't the fact that a former president was shot, that a good American is dead, that other Americans were critically wounded, isn't that enough mission failure for you to say that the person who decided that building should not be in the security perimeter probably ought to be stepped down?
Senator, I think you're using the word decided, and I think we need to allow the investigation play out to include.
Who did make the decision then? If it wasn't the lead site agent, who made the decision not to put that in the security perimeter?
Senator, you're zeroing in on one particular agent. I want to find out exactly what was the entire decision process. So I think I want to be neutral and make sure that we get to the bottom of it and interview everybody in order to determine if there was more than one person who perhaps exercised bad judgment.
Well, sure. My question is, why don't you relieve everybody of duty who made bad judgment? So, yeah, you're right. I am zeroing in on somebody. I'm trying to find somebody who's accountable here. You're telling me that the person who made the decision not to include this in the perimeter has not been relieved of duty. What about the person who's in charge of the interoperability of radio frequencies between local law enforcement and Secret Service? Has that person been relieved of duty?
No, Senator, because interoperability is a challenge, is a greater challenge than just one person. On that day, we had a counterpart system. It failed.
As the person who made the decision to send Donald Trump onto stage knowing that you had a security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir, they haven't.
Has the person who decided not to pull the former president off of stage when you knew that, in your words, the locals were working a serious security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir. Again, I refer you back to my original answer that we are investigating this through a mission assurance, and as opposed to zeroing in on one,
what more do you need to investigate to know
exactly what the decision-making process was? What more do you need to investigate
to know that there were critical enough failures that some individuals ought to be held accountable? I mean, what more do you need to know?
What I need to know is exactly what happened, and I need my investigators to do their job. And I cannot.
A lot of people didn't do their
I cannot
jobs.
put my thumb on the scale. Otherwise,
what do you mean put your thumb on the
objective? You're asking me, Senator, to completely make a rush to judgment about somebody failing. I acknowledge this was a failure of the
Is it
Secret
not
Service.
prima facie that somebody has failed? A former president was shot.
Sir, this could have been our Texas school book depository. I have lost sleep over that for the last 17 days,
Then
just like you
fire
have.
somebody to
and I will
hold
tell
them
you,
accountable.
Senator, I will tell you, Senator, that I will not rush to judgment, that people will be held accountable, and I will do so with integrity and not rush to judgment and put people
I can't believe
unfairly
that you
persecuted.
are unfairly persecuted.
Unfairly,
We've got people
sir,
who are
we
dead.
have to be able to have a proper investigation into this.
Okay, Mr. Rowe. So we're a year removed. Have you had the time for a proper investigation so people aren't unfairly persecuted? And now we're going to have the accountability that you promised back at the end of July of 2024? Is that where we are in July of 2025? For more on this, please be joined by Susan Crabtree, RealClearPolitics.com's national political correspondent, co-author of Fool's Gold, The Radicals, Con Artists, and Traitors Who Killed the California Dream and Now Threaten Us All. Susan, thanks for joining us, and appreciate it.
Oh, it's wonderful to be with you again, Dan. Thanks for having me.
So did Ron Rowe keep his promise? Secret Service agency keep his promise?
Well, Ron Rowe is sitting in a plum job right now, lucrative job with the Chertoff Group. So
Michael Chertoff, former DHS. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, and Kimberly Cheadle is sitting on her millions that some of it which she earned with working for PepsiCo, which Jill Biden helped her get that job. The mission assurance report that he is talking about has been classified. And that is evidence, exactly, my sources tell me, of a cover-up and why they don't want this information to be out there. In fact, and I don't think it would surprise you that I was asking about this for the last 2 weeks, about these suspensions. And instead of coming forward and talking to me, as I've been begging them to do for months and months, about the reforms in the Secret Service, about who was responsible, about the disciplinary actions or lack thereof, they decided to, when I became very pressing about the matter, 3 days before the assassination anniversary, they leaked it, gave it on a silver platter to CBS News without the names. So then next morning I provided the names to the public via my X.com account, and I just provided all the context about it. I can go chapter and verse. One of the reasons why Ron Rowe, I believe, and Director Cheadle were obscuring and outright lying about the facts of the matter in both of their appearances before Congress is because they are ultimately responsible for the bad decisions that led up to this. They could have had many more counter snipers at that event. They should have had many more counter snipers at that event, considering what we know now, that 10 days before the rally, they knew there was an acute Iranian threat to the president's life. And they provided those counter snipers. They dropped them in 2 days before that rally, and they only had 2 days to do what would have been normally take them 6 days to do their plan. He's talking about the site agent, but there are layers of responsibility for determining who and why that roof was not covered. And I can talk to you exactly who all was responsible. It was the site agent, her supervisors, and the counter sniper team and their supervisors that did not cover that roof properly. And guess what? In that mix I just told you, the supervisors got off scot-free, and the junior agents are taking the fall, albeit it's a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, just to be clear, for those who haven't got the details yet, 6 agents have been placed on varying durations of unpaid leave from 10 to 42 days per your reporting, Susan.
That's exactly right. And one of the most shocking revelations that I have seen over the last few days, I actually broke this story, but I will give the credit to the Senate investigators, Rand Paul and Chuck Grassley, put out reports over the weekend that I was live tweeting as I was reading them. And one of the most explosive news headlines is that the counter sniper that was responsible for the kill shot to Thomas Crooks, the would-be assassin, is also the supervisor who failed to provide the oversight, basic oversight, to get that AGR roof covered. Their counter sniper plan was a wreck. People are talking about this young agent that Holly was first trying to get the name of. Her name is Mio Perez. Mio Perez is an extremely inexperienced agent with the bad reputation of being a partier and unserious. And she was given the role of being in charge of the entire site security for the rally that day. But she has two male supervisors, far more experienced, and one was an inspector who was on the site to provide oversight and accountability and integrity. And he did not do his job. And those supervisors have gotten big promotions. One of them, they're both named Nick. Nick Menster is now the number 2 on the Laura and Eric Trump detail. And Nick Oleszewski is head, if you can believe this, of the inspections division, which is what I just said, is the inspections division, like most inspections divisions in federal government and the military, it exists to provide accountability and integrity for all of their operations.
What is the level?
Mind-blowing.
What is the level of the president's knowledge of these people and the responsible parties? I know from your reporting that he knew of at least one of the individuals who said, because he told a crowd, I guess, at a Secret Service event that that person was no longer welcome here, that person on Secret Service is no longer part of his details. So he at least knew one responsible party, despite Ron Rowe's high-hatting of Josh Hawley. There was some accountability delivered personally by Trump, but what is his general knowledge about what you're reporting and all of these individuals, both junior and senior?
Well, he's getting it from both the Secret Service and likely from the FBI on their part of Thomas Crooks, or the information by him. But if we talk about the Secret Service, they are going to do exactly what you just said. Everyone is responsible, so no one is responsible. Yeah. And there are layers and layers. Ultimately, it was the leadership of the Secret Service to set everybody up to fail because they did not provide the security assets time and time again, because they were abiding by that old, outdated protocol that a former president doesn't get the same security assets as a president or vice president, or in this case, even a first lady, because she was having an event that night that had more security assets than the Butler rally, something that I reported on the day after, on J14, the day afterwards. And they told me I was very wrong in a tweet directed to me that Fox News then picked up and went without speaking to me. So I was heading into the Republican National Committee with a cloud over my head. Keith Olbermann called me a fraud. Fast forward.
That's a badge of honor. Yeah.
True, actually. And then fast forward 6 days, and Senator Grassley had come up and done the hard work to verify my reporting that, in fact, there were 3 or 4 times the amount of post standards at Jill Biden's event than there was at the Butler rally. Surprise, surprise. But that was that outmoded protocol, and it was absolutely disgusting considering we knew, and he was briefed on an Iranian threat that still exists today, and existed actually for a long time, but it was new information that they had received 10 days before from the intelligence community. And then now we're finding out that not everybody that was planning security that day was briefed on that.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but that reporting that like they didn't know how to transmit classified information to the state and locals, and that this was the disconnect in terms of the sharing of intel. And yet we talked to Thomas Baker yesterday, former FBI, who was involved in the John Hinckley assassination attempt investigation. And he said, wait, there's been a protocol of how to do that in place for two decades.
That's absurd. Yeah. No, I don't buy into this. And I also think that they're hiding behind that. I don't blame the Pittsburgh field office for making that a point when they were trying to get their disciplinary their actions reduced, because they didn't know. The Pittsburgh team literally didn't know, but they could surmise. Think about it. Everyone knew that anyone in the know in Washington and elsewhere knew that Donald Trump was facing an Iranian threat. There was this 2022 video that the Iranians had circulated of a simulation of Donald Trump getting shot and killed, assassinated on a golf course by a drone. So everyone in the intelligence community should have known that exists. It's certainly the Donald Trump detail, I'm told, when they arrive, anyone who joins the Donald Trump detail, when they arrive at Mar-a-Lago, they get briefed and they get their security clearance upgraded because of the Iranian threat. Okay? One of the top reasons. So even Mios Perez, the site agent who Holly was talking about that day, she is saying, oh, I'm a victim. I didn't know about it. Well, you saw that there were counter snipers added for the first time on Thursday. What did you think was the reason that the counter snipers were being added? And everybody has some culpability in this. I agree with them that there's so many layers of failures here. I do agree. But ultimately, it's Kimberly Cheadle and Ron Rowe were following the old protocol, and they were denying those assets to the Donald Trump team for a year and a half, and Sean Curran was pushing back on that and had the receipts. And that's one of the reasons they couldn't take immediate disciplinary action against his team, and maybe him too, because he had the receipts and he was leveraging them against the bosses who he knew was responsible for that lame protocol. So it's a mess, and there are so many conflicts of interest here, even with Sean Curran now meting out these slaps on the wrist and saying they can't fire their way out of this. That's because he was signed off on the security plan the day beforehand, even though it didn't adequately provide coverage and diagrams for that AGR building.
What a mess indeed. Susan Crabtree, RealClearPolitics.com's national political correspondent, co-author of Fool's Gold, The Radicals, Con Artists, and Traitors Who Killed the California Dream and Now Threaten Us All. Fool's Gold is the book. Susan Crabtree, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Thanks so much for your interest in us and your continued coverage of it.
For sure. And Susan Crabtree joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
They took everything. Our equipment, our supplies, it's all gone.
It's devastating. Every order is going to be delayed for months, and our customers are going to find someone else.
I don't know if we'll ever recover from this. We're already getting calls from clients checking on their orders.
Who knows how long it will take to get back on our feet? What were we thinking not upgrading our security?
Don't let a break-in devastate your business. Protect yourself with Goldilocks. They'll create a customized security solution for you. From commercial doors with keyless entry to 24/7 alarm monitoring, they have you covered. Learn more at GoldilocksInc.com and have a security technician conduct an on-site assessment of your business. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call Goldilocks now. 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicagoland's premier locksmith doors and security systems company since 1981.
AM 560. The Answer.
Dan Proft here. Thank you for joining us on today's installment of Chicago's Morning Answer. Back tomorrow with more. It is now 9 a.m. AM 560 WIND Chicago. Have a good day.
Things cost a little more last month. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Inflation crept up.
The consumer price index rose 0.3% in June from May, up just 0.2 for core CPI, excluding food and energy. For the year ending in June, the CPI was up 2.7%.
That's Fox's Jenny Casola. That annual inflation